Today, childhood dreams will be realized as 42 soccer players will be able to add the word professional to their resume. The next generation of MLS stars will be introduced today. Live from Philadelphia, this is the 2015 Major League Soccer SuperDraft. SiriusXM FC 94 and MLSsoccer.com proud to be in Philadelphia at the Pennsylvania Convention Center for this year's edition of the draft. 20 clubs to add players that will lead to their future. Along with Jonathan Yardley and John Harkes, I'm Joe Tollison. Glad you've joined us here for the next 3.5 hours. We'll take you through the first 2 rounds of this draft. And John Harkes, what are these players thinking? What's going through their minds right now?
It's kind of a nervous energy in a way, and this is a great opportunity. They finally, all the training and the hard work comes down to this, culminates in them having an opportunity to step in the field, but also with a club, the atmosphere here, the fan base, everything about this, it gives them a great chance to really prove themselves to the next level. Can they do it? Yeah, well, here's a chance right here in MLS SuperDraft.
Jonathan Yardley, you spent last weekend at the MLS Combines, and some decisions could be made or broken there at that, but what does it mean at that Combine for these players? What's going to happen here today?
I think for most players, the Combine was a chance to put themselves up on the board. It was a chance to talk to coaches, meet them face-to-face, prove they're a good fit for their club. A lot of teams said they did their homework. The Combine was not likely to drop a guy a ton, but it could move him a couple picks either way. One player who wasn't at the Combine is the presumptive number 1 pick, Kyle Larin, part of the Generation Adidas class, underclassman that came out early. So very curious to see where he goes and who takes him today.
Yeah, it's Kyle Larin. It's a guy who didn't even play soccer till he was 11 years old. He grew up in Canada. He was a hockey player, and now he's with the Canadian under-20s in CONCACAF World Cup qualifying. But he did his job in his 3 years at Connecticut, and is a guy who can really put some goals in, and might be a guy who can help right away, depending on where he goes. It will be today, the first 2 rounds of the draft. We will have 42 picks because Chivas traded picks in both the first and second round, so those teams will still get to make those picks. So although there's 20 clubs in Major League Soccer, there will be an extra pick in each round. 4 minutes to make each selection, and each team will have a 5-minute timeout that they can take throughout this draft. Where does that factor in, Jonathan?
We hope to not see too many of those. You hope nobody uses those in the second round for sure. But usually that's when you're trying to figure out a trade, and you just need a little more time to get the allocation money right, to talk to a player, to figure it out. Hope we don't see too many. Everyone likes to keep it moving. There
will be a 3rd and 4th round. That will happen in a conference call on Tuesday. But it is now time to get things underway. Let's head to the podium and begin this Super Draft with MLS Commissioner Don Garber.
It's great to be in Philadelphia. It really is. This is a city that really needs the game, loves the game. And let me give a little bit of a shout out to the Sons of Ben. You know, we in our league really believe that it's not just about what we do on the field, but it's what we do as an enterprise off the field. And the Sons of Ben really do a remarkable job of philanthropic work, and I encourage all of our supporters around the country to continue to do some of the things that Sons of Ben have been doing philanthropically, because it really helps connect our sport and community. You know, the Super Draft is the annual kickoff of our 20th season, and this is a big year. It's going to be the year that we launch our 2 newest teams, New York City FC and Orlando City FC.
Look at this guy.
It's also the year that we're going to play in our 15th brand new soccer-specific stadium in San Jose. It's a year that we're going to welcome perhaps the largest contingent of new international players, and it's also a year that we're going to welcome home so many great U.S. national team stars. So I know that I speak for everyone in this room, for our club, from our club executives to our fans, to those that are just true lovers of the game, that our league has come a long way in these 20 years and has accomplished far more than most people expected. Much of the rise of our league, domestically and internationally, is the result of the commitment and the dedication of the guys that are sitting here in this room, our coaches and technical directors. Now, I don't get a chance enough, even though we met last week at the Combine, to really thank all of you guys for what you do day in and day out, with all the pressures to produce a winning team, with all of the trials and tribulations of being a professional sports league executive. So let me start on behalf of all of us, our fans, but also everybody at the league office. I want to really thank you guys for everything you do for our league and for our sport. And let me get everybody here, give our coaches and technical directors a big round of applause. Now, I'm also proud to say that most of the people that are in this room, most of our coaches and technical directors have played in our league. Many of them have stood on this stage and have been drafted in the MLS SuperDraft. So it's a time for all the young folks that are here today to think about this very, very special moment in your lives. And again, we're going to ask that when they do come up here and give their remarks and wear that scarf or wear that hat, might not be the team that you support, giving them the moment to have this very memorable time in their lives. Later today, we're going to talk about one player who's had a very significant impact in our sport, and I know he's going to provide some words to those young draftees that are here today. This is a year we've got a lot of key milestones. It's a bunch of key moments. It will be the launch of our new landmark agreements with ESPN, with Fox, and Univision, establishing for the first time the fact that we will have prime time destination scheduled games on Friday night and a doubleheader with Fox and ESPN on Sunday night. It's also a time that we're going to go live with our new brand identity. That's that crest that you see behind me, a crest that represents the three things that matter most to all of us in Major League Soccer. Whether you're a fan, whether you're a player, whether you're a technical person, it's your club, it's your community, and it's your country, whether that country is the United States and Canada. That's what those three stars represent. Those are the core values of our league. That's what we stand for. That's what we work every day for. That's what we're trying to do to build these rising soccer nations here in North America, and that's what our crown represents. Fittingly, it's also a look that's going to represent a bunch of new beginnings. New beginnings with a new stadium. It's a year that we're going to announce our new round of expansion. It's a year that we're going to bring in even more players, whether they're coming in through our draft or they're going to be signed in the windows here this month or later on in the summer. I'd like to thank Adidas, who's been a partner with us from day one, sponsor of the SuperDraft, very connected with the NSCAA. They're a company that is deeply engaged in our league, and a number of these players are part of the Generation Adidas program that allows young people to come into this league as professionals, to be able to do it in an environment that provides them with an opportunity to really drive their success. Speaking of players, earlier today, we honored a guy that's considered by most to be the greatest player that's ever worn an MLS club jersey. Almost 15 years ago, he made a decision to make Major League Soccer his league of choice. He gave our young league at that time exactly what we needed, a star in the making, somebody that was born out of the grassroots system that this convention is all about. He scored goals, he played with passion, he played with flair, and very importantly, he set the table for a new generation of players, just like the guys here, that ultimately can play in a very, very growing and thriving professional soccer league with stadiums that we can call our own and with fans that love their clubs. So, ladies and gentlemen, earlier today, about an hour ago, we announced that beginning in 2015, the Major League Soccer Most Valuable Player Award will be known as the Landon Donovan MVP Award. It's a fitting honor to create a lasting legacy for a guy who helped make this league what it is today. So it's my great pleasure, before our draft starts, creating the next generation of players in our great league. Let me welcome up to the stage Landon Donovan.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much, guys. I always dreamed of being drafted, actually, so this is sort of the second best thing. This, called by the commissioner, is very cool. Thank you to all of you guys who make this, especially you fans, who make this so special for us. I've been very blessed to have had a long, enjoyable career. Many people I see out here I played with or against have coached or been coached by, and most of all been mentored by and become friends with. So it's a very special day for me. I know for all you guys, it's a very special day too. And while I didn't go through this same exact process, today I was thinking back at the first phone call I got when I was going to go to San Jose when I was about your guys' age. And that moment for me was so special and so incredible. And today you guys get a chance to come up here and start the next part of your life. Part of you probably feels like being drafted means you made it. But the reality is it's just the beginning. And with the league you're coming into now, it's much different than when we came in. You guys have every opportunity ahead of you to do whatever you want in your career and in your lives. And I hope you guys grab it, take it, and run with it. And I wish you guys all the best. It's going to be a great day. Make sure you enjoy it. It's going to be a great day. Thank you to Major League Soccer. I love this league. And thank you to Commissioner Garber for making this such a special day for me. It will forever be a very special day in my heart. Always wanted to do this. I'm a big sports fan. Orlando City SC, you are officially on the clock. Have fun.
All right, so officially we are underway for the 2015 MLS SuperDraft. Orlando City on the clock, 4 minutes. There has been some talk, guys, about whether or not they actually deal this pick. But with Kyle Larin sitting there, the one guy that we think could be somebody who makes an immediate impact, can you afford to deal it?
I don't think you can. I mean, especially because you're an expansion team. You're trying to put together this group and the depth, but you still want players that make a difference and an impact right away. And at times, you don't know. I mean, it is really a bit of a lottery, and there's always going to be this risk that's in place. But to see a player like this and have an opportunity, you don't want to waste that. But if you give it away, you better get something really strong in return.
Well, yeah, and to play devil's advocate, if you're going to give it up, get an experienced guy. And that's what we've heard. The initial trade offers were just allocation money and trade your pick down. Now we're hearing maybe some teams have been offering players, established MLS players, that Orlando is more confident can help them right away. So that might be something to get them to trade down and still get somebody good at 3. But I think as an expansion team, you want to have that moment. The number 1 pick is a big moment.
But there's also that added pressure. I mean, there's this pressure that's there with the number 1 pick, and if you don't manage that well, it comes back to bite you. So that's there too, Joe.
Well, but it's a team that has added Kaká as a designated player, so they've made that splash. They've added Brian Rochez. There is some talk about Christian Higuita and Carlos Rivas coming aboard as well. So they have some guys in there that Kyle Larin might actually fit in and be able to learn from some of these guys, and then who knows where that takes in the next 5-10 years.
Yeah, you can see here, we're not sure if Rochez, he's a young designated player, if he's going to be able to produce right away or not, so having Larin might help them be able to shoulder that load. And again, this is a team that brought in 8 players from the USL Pro team that won the regular season title last year. So unlike most expansion teams, they kind of have a core to work with.
Yeah, they do. I mean, but at the same time, too, when you're an expansion team, and Adrian Heath knows this, he's managed his team so well, they already have the core together from the USL days. They're moving forward now. So what he wants is a utility player, too. He wants a guy that has versatility. So he may be saying to himself, is there somebody else that's in the pack, and maybe I give up this spot, and I want to pick maybe this other player, and now I have 2-3, of the depth chart, instead of getting just that one with Kyle.
And you pick up more money to use on international signings later. This is a team that's up to 11 international slots. You start with 8.
Yeah.
They've already used 9, so they've got 2 available. You could use Larin with 1, or you could get allocation money that you might use for a bigger signing later.
Right, and we're starting to learn what allocation money means with the Mix Diskerud signing with NYCFC. But here are what we have evaluated as team needs for Orlando City. And, of course, in the back line at the right back and center back positions, and then somebody out on the flank. And, unfortunately, in that situation, Kyle Laren's not going to necessarily fit that bill.
No, but the other thing, too, is where's Breck Shea going to play for them? Is he a natural left-sided player, or is he going to be somewhere else underneath? False number 9, central midfielder? We'll see.
Yeah, and Carlos Rivas, that still is in the works. It is unofficial, but it seems it's going to get done. And we're moments away here from finding out if it will indeed be Kyle Laren as the first pick of this 2015 MLS SuperDraft. And so let's head to the podium, and Commissioner Don Garber set to announce the first pick of these proceedings.
With the first pick of the first round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, Orlando City SC select from the University of Connecticut and a member of Generation Adidas, forward Kyle Laren. As most of you know, Kyle is with the Canadian national team, the U20s, playing at the CONCACAF U20 Championship. So he can't be with us here today, but I think we have some
so Kyle Laren, of course, not here because
Kyle
he's playing in the CONCACAF Under-20 World Cup qualifiers. And actually, if memory serves, I think they're in action tonight. So he'll be playing. So, they kind of keep true to form of what we would expect, Kyle Laren. And so the first question, I guess, is where does he fit in?
Well, I guess, number one, you don't want to take him out of his comfort zone. He's a big striker, big body. You're still going to have to transition, speed of play, speed of thought, everything about that at that top level. But you would think that they want depth as a front player. They want a guy that can score a goal or be a threat up front right away. Here's your guy.
23 goals in 39 games at UConn, a bigger sophomore year than his junior year, or a bigger first year than second year. But Laren can step in right away. I don't think they're going to put the pressure and say, be our number 9 for the whole season right away. They're going to work him in off the bench. But certainly, everybody across the board said of all the players, he can make the biggest impact year 1, 2015.
Okay, we've talked about Kyle Laren being with Canada for the Under-20 World Cup qualifiers, but he's already has 3 caps with the senior team. What does that mean?
It means that he has this kind of comfort level, Joe, and that calmness. To be at a senior level already as a young player is huge. And now he has this kind of natural ability, like you said, to deal with adversity. And what he gets of being a senior level is the experience of being around older players. He's going to get that when he walks into Orlando Soccer Club. He's going to have to not only just transition on the field, but in the dressing room as well. So the experience he gets by being a senior guy for Canada, that's going to help him tremendously.
So Kyle Laren coming aboard, and that is the first pick here. And now that takes us to NYCFC. They have been in the news plenty in the last couple of weeks. Frank Lampard is coming, not till July. They've sorted all that out. He's the big signing, of course. David Villa as well. So NYCFC, we see Claudio Reyna and Jason Christ, the former RSL coach, as they are ready to embark on their first campaign. And for NYCFC, if Kyle Laren is taken off the board, we mentioned Lampard, Mix Diskerud just signed, so they have somebody there in the midfield. A senior international presence until Lampard comes aboard. But with that strength of Diskerud, let's move ahead. Diskerud, Lampard, David Villa, what's the need of this club?
Well, here you look at it. Defensive midfield is one option. Forward, some depth behind Villa, and left back are places to fill out. I mean, all the talk has been that Christian Roldan, sophomore midfielder from the University of Washington, he's young, he projects as eventually a number 6. That's the defensive midfield spot. He wouldn't start there right away, but he can play it. People have told me he fits Jason Christ's system perfectly. If they don't take him at 2, I'd be shocked. So that's the odds-on favorite, but as we've seen over the years, 4 trades in the first round last year, you never know.
Yeah, we had Claudio Reyna on our show, Joe, on Counterattack the other night, and he was saying specifically, look, guys, we want to get a soccer player. We want a guy that can fit into our team, not just a player that has a strength or size, like a real soccer IQ and awareness on the field. It seems like Christian, he fits that mold for them.
Well, let's touch on that because it's a topic that you like to touch on quite often, and that is there's a lot of guys out there that have similar skill sets, skill on the ball and whatnot, but that's not what separates the great player from the good player.
No, it's not. It's actually a mentality. I mean, it's more about their attitude and the way that they have this confidence about them. So hopefully he's one of those guys that does fit. And, Jonathan just mentioned it. When you look at Jason Christ, it's a possession style, build out of the back. Players that want the ball, Christian Roldan, he wants the ball. You know that. So right away, the mentality is there, the confidence to hold on to the ball. I'm not so sure if these guys turn around and say, I want to give that up right now and trade that. I don't think they do.
We saw shots of New York City on the phone, wheeling and dealing. We'll see which way they go.
New York City has called for a 5-minute timeout.
All right, there's the first one that's being used. Each team has one 5-minute timeout. And I've talked to some different friends, and I was like, really? It's a draft, a timeout? And I said, hey, I'd rather each team have one 5-minute timeout than every pick be 10 or 15 minutes. I'll take the 4 minutes a pick and the one 5-minute timeout than what some of the other leagues do. But hey, take the time when you need it. Don't just milk it for everything else.
It is important to take the time. I mean, there are moments that people sit back when they're not here in this environment. The music's blaring, the atmosphere of the crowd. And you would think that, well, just be prepared. You know what your trade is. You know what's going on. You know what's out there in the landscape. But there's always something that comes up in the last second.
Right.
And when you dangle that carrot from another club, someone says, ooh, they have to take the time out. I agree with you, Joe. I think you get to this point, you think to yourself, don't do anything rash. Don't jump in there and just say, nope, we had our mind made up. If there's an option here that makes sense for the club, especially when you're a club that's coming out of the gate here in an expansion year, you've got to consider all options.
You have to think somebody just upped the offer, right? Because they've been able to field offers for this
Why do you
for
have
a
money
week.
hanging out of your back?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I would do.
What's going on here?
Where that would go with the number 2 pick, but somebody just made Jason Christ think about it. He and Claudio Reyna go into things prepared. They've known Roldan was going to be there at 2 for months.
Well, if they're not going to take Roldan, what do they get? What is that ante that's been upped right now for them, Jonathan?
I think it could be the same thing as Orlando City. They got offered an MLS player who can step in right away and join David Villa and produce right away, whereas Roldan is a little bit more of a longer-term project.
I mean, I think it's fair to say that where this draft has changed a bit, and even for NYCFC, is kind of in essence, the mandate to either own or have an affiliation with a USL Pro team. In essence, have that farm team ready to go. And so now that's what a lot of these teams are having to do. They're not just worried about their initial MLS roster. They have another club they need to fill a roster for at the USL level. And so when you evaluate that whole thing, is it better off for NYCFC to let somebody else fill the USL Pro roster and we get somebody that helps us today in the MLS level?
Yeah, and I mean, again, you're looking at they already have 21 players signed. 16 of those have MLS experience. So if they could add another one that's already comfortable in the league and shift those young players to USL Pro, either on loan, presumably, get them some serious minutes this year to produce later, that would work out well.
Yeah, and then also, too, I mean, the DP situation, look, there's clubs that put that as an emphasis right away. That's your, ground basis. Let's get our designated players sorted out. But they only have 2 at the moment, so they still have that one open slot. So that's something to consider as well, Joe.
Yeah, they have the 2. One of them is Lampard, the other David Villa. What do they do with the third? And again, could allocation money come into play? Because they just used a bunch of it.
John Doyle right there, GM coming back.
So that's San Jose they're talking to.
San Jose, Dominic Kinnear going back to the club that he was once there. A lot of success. So obviously, there's something that's been offered. The conversation will continue, the dialogue. And now, at that point, you're looking, Dominic Kinnear, if it is the case, for San Jose and John Doyle, they're thinking, all right, we've got time here. Will they bite on it? Will they take it? Or will they pass?
And the thing to bring up with San Jose, they have 1 pick in the first 2 rounds, the 4th overall. So do they maybe do a swap of picks and get something else, or are they trying to add another pick to the kitty because they only have those 1 in 42 rounds?
San Jose has a lot of players already under contract who were under contract before Dominic Kinnear got there. So let's be honest, some of those players aren't going to stay. Coaches like to make changes, like to bring in their own personnel. So if they're going to move a guy and New York City wants a proven MLS player, that's an option. So again, I think that probably more than allocation money might be what's in the pot here.
Well, the interesting part of it too is as they continue to add players to this, you look at Mix Discaru, just signed at New York City FC. I mean, attacking midfielder. Can he play anywhere? Versatile in the midfield? Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, this might be a situation where they feel we got enough midfielders. Maybe we pass on Christian Ronaldo and we give that up, but we're getting something back in return, and maybe other areas are a concern for them right now.
All right, and we'll throw in the one other thing. The 5 minutes could elapse. They may have heard all offers, and then they may decide, to heck with y'all, we're keeping the thing.
They might. I mean, look, this happens. This is what's pretty unique about this situation. And these deals, they start brokering last night. When everybody arrives into Philly.
Week?
No, last week. But I mean,
they heat up when you're here.
Face-to-face deals. This is what really takes part, and it's a negotiation. And, when you think that you have one with one club, then someone else sneaks in behind you and says, hey, by the way, we're willing to do this. And then you go, oh. So now a lot of things to consider in that short period of time.
All right, Commissioner Don Garber at the podium. We'll see what happens.
Patience with the second pick of the first round of the MLS SuperDraft. New York City FC select from Oregon State University forward Kyrie Shelton.
All right, so it is not Christian Roldan from the University of Washington and another generation Adidas player. It is Kyrie Shelton, who, Jonathan Yardley, you had number 3 on your list.
Yeah, I mean, this is another guy who was in our top 5. Big forward, 6'3", 175 pounds. Had some injuries in his college career at Oregon State, but his senior year, 10 goals, 12 assists. Good combination of size and speed. As John mentioned, you want a little something else up top, want some more support in the forward realm. He certainly provides that.
Yeah, and again, we talk about David Villa up there. Patrick Mullins has come in from New England Revolution. So New York City is thinking to themselves, we need more depth than that. We want another guy that can go to, if we have the injuries, or we have a player that's been called up somewhere, international duty, whatever it may be. Kyrie Shelton fits that bill. It's a good thing for a guy as an option up front. And they're going to look at what he did more recently, not about, like you said, the injuries and everything else, but what he did more recently.
All right, Kyrie Shelton.
Wow. This is crazy. First and foremost, I'd like to thank God for this awesome experience. Second, I would like to thank my family. Without them, I couldn't have done this at all and been here. They've been through it with me through it all. Second, I would like to thank New York FC for choosing me, and this is a great opportunity for me. Third, I'd like to thank MLS. This is fantastic. This is great. I really can. Next, I'd like to thank Richard Motzkin and Team Wasserman for allowing me to be part of their family. And next, I'd like to thank Adidas. This is fantastic, signing with them and whatnot. So this has been great. And then lastly, I'd like to thank Oregon State University and Steve Simmons for coaching me over these last 4 years. Couldn't have done it without the guys back home in Corvallis. Thanks again.
Kyrie Shelton, 10 goals, 12 assists in 21 games as a senior at Oregon State. Richard Motzkin loses Landon Donovan as a player under his roster because he retired. Now he gets Kyrie Shelton.
Yeah, I mean, you look at number one thing is power, pace, but technical ability too. Good finish. He can do both feet. So another guy that comes into the bill for this club, and they think, we're happy about it. They made a decision here, and they're going to stick with it. So great opportunity. You saw how excited he was. He seemed a little bit shocked and surprised, but at the same time, a very happy guy.
Yeah, Shelton, again, can bring a lot. He can play that target role that maybe they want Patrick Mullins to play, but if he needed to play alongside Mullins, he's good at running off the ball as well. You're seeing footage from the Combine where he did score a goal. Actually missed the third day with a sinus infection, so I think he was a little under the weather and a little nervous up there, but interesting to see him jump up to number 2.
Well, and you bring up Patrick Mullins, and that's another guy that was a top pick in this draft. Yeah. So, out of the University of Maryland. So they've got some good young talent at NYCFC, and we'll see what they'll be able to do with it. Now up on the clock, it is the Montreal Impact. Maybe Kyrie Shelton, a little bit of a relief when he made his speech. He doesn't have to learn French as well, because if he was third on the board, maybe he goes to Montreal. But for the Impact, they are ready to go as their time is running down, and the needs for the Impact. This is a team that has a lot of needs, but we'll get to those in a moment as MLS Commissioner Don Garber ready with the pick.
Third pick of the first round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, the Montreal Impact select from the the University of Central Florida, and a member of Generation Adidas forward Romario Williams.
All right, Romario Williams from the University of Central Florida. He is Jamaican, played for Jamaica at the 2011 Under-17 World Cup, Player of the Year in the American Athletic Conference, and right there with Kyle Larin in their sophomore years, a couple of years, 10 goals for Romario Williams. So again, what we're seeing early on here, we could talk about the strength of some of the midfielders, the defenders, whatnot. 3 picks in this draft, Jonathan Yardley. It's 3 forwards. Goal scoring at a premium.
Yeah, and they're going for tools. Romario Williams is a big guy. He's quick. He can move. Very sturdy body. Didn't have the greatest soccer sense on display at the Combine, but in terms of a project to work on, he's Generation Adidas. They think he has a bright future.
Well, that's the key, too. I mean, they look at the pieces of the puzzle here. You know, Generation Adidas guy, so it doesn't count against the cap. Here we go. Here, listen to him right now.
This is a tremendous experience. Firstly, I just want to thank God for providing me with this incredible opportunity to be here. Without His help and guidance, this wouldn't be possible. Second, I want to thank my family, my mom and my uncle who is here with me today. I just want to thank all my family, my close relatives and friends who have supported me throughout the years and being a strong support system for me. I just want to thank all the coaches who have coached me over the years, showed me the way, and a big thank you to you all for believing in me. And to my coach who's here with me, and Brian Cunningham, and everyone back at the University of Central Florida, a big thank you to you all. This wouldn't be possible without the help and support you guys have given me over the years, over this past 3 years. It's been really incredible. And to the Montreal Impact fans, I'm here, and I'm willing to work hard. Thanks to Montreal and all the guys in the front office for believing in me, and I'm excited to get to work. Bonjour, Montreal.
3 picks, 3 forwards. Romario Williams is off to the Impact de Montreal.
He sounded ready. He had studied his French, so maybe those meetings went particularly well.
Oui, ça va. Très bien. Powerful guy, likes to get the ball, not afraid to take responsibility up front. Generation Adidas, we said that earlier on. So, again, they're willing to take a chance on him. Wish him all the best. He seems confident, you know, in the way that he not only, you know, he approaches the game, but off the field as well. So, ready to step in and do some damage.
Well, Jack McInerney really was the top forward that Montreal has right now. There was some talk about Alberto Gilardino. Those talks seem to have fallen through. So, again, there was a need, and maybe this is a guy, if he can really show up in training camp and really make an impact, maybe he'll be with the Impact.
And they've got to be ready right away. They've got CONCACAF Champions League in February. That is a quick turnaround to get ready for that series against Pachuca.
All right, now on the board right now, San Jose. They were already in the news as we thought maybe they'd be trying to work a deal with NYCFC to acquire the 2nd overall pick as well. 4th overall pick for the San Jose Earthquakes. It is the only pick that they have in the first 2 rounds, at least at this juncture. Let's go to the podium. MLS Commissioner Don Garber.
With the 4th pick of the first round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, the San Jose Earthquakes select from Michigan State University, midfielder Fatai Alashe.
The goalkeepers are now on the clock.
All right, Fatai Alashe from Michigan State. First player who was not a forward to get selected here. Defensive midfielder. Missed the Combine games because of a groin injury. But here's well, you had him 4th on your list, Jonathan. The thing is that Christian Roldan's still there.
Yeah, Roldan dropping is a surprise. I think we can get into some of that a little bit more later, but it's some of the physicality in midfield, and that's something that Fatai Alashe brings. Great athlete, great range. This has not been put to me. This is me saying this, but Dominic Kinnear team, Ricardo Clark-ish, has that kind of potential long term.
All right, let's head up to Fatai Alashe.
How's it going? I didn't really prepare anything for today, but of course, would like to start by thanking my family who came with me today. Obviously, I really appreciate all their support throughout the years. This wouldn't be possible without them. I mean, they've done a lot for me and made sure I've had everything I needed throughout my life and my career. I would like to thank my coach who's here, Damon Rensing, and all the other coaches at Michigan State University for helping make this possible as well. Without them, I definitely wouldn't be here today. They've taught me so much about the game. And I would also like to thank my teammates at Michigan State, because without them, again, this wouldn't be possible. And I need every single one of those guys, all 28 players on that team, and all the players I've played with throughout my career. I would also like to thank my club coaches, all the influences throughout my life to make me a better player and to get to this stage. Lastly, I would like to thank San Jose and their staff and their front office for believing in me and giving me this opportunity. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, for a guy who didn't prepare anything, I'm sure the reporters in San Jose are excited about him coming because he had a lot to say. We're joined now by Kyrie Shelton from Oregon State University and now a member of NYCFC. And what did it mean to hear your name called here today?
Oh, it's a blessing. It's really great. I'm thankful for Jason Christ and the whole NYFC staff for this opportunity.
Did you have any inkling of where you were going to go based on the meetings? Did you think New York City was very interested? What was your mindset going in?
I didn't know. Wasn't prepared. Didn't know. Had a great meeting with them though. Very. We didn't really talk about soccer. It was more personal and just to get to know me a little bit better. So.
Well, now that it's done, I mean, do you feel a little bit of like you can relax a little bit, start focusing a little bit what you do best, and that's being a soccer player, stepping on the field. Talk about some of the strengths and really this past season for you at school, what helps transition you into the pro level game.
Strengths for me, fast, can get in behind defenses. I score goals. That's a big thing for sure. But I had a lot of guys at Oregon State help me get to this point, and I'm thankful for them.
Excellent. All right, now you're going to have the likes of Frank Lampard and David Villa to help out as well.
You can't go wrong with that.
Clean right.
Yeah.
All right, congratulations, Kyrie.
Thank you, guys.
Kyrie Shelton, Oregon State University, now with NYCFC. It was Kyle Larin who went first overall, selected by Orlando City. Kyrie Shelton, Romario Williams, Fatai Alashi, and now the Portland Timbers are on the clock. This is a pick that they acquired from the Colorado Rapids. So they're selecting 5th overall here, and they dealt one of their picks to Toronto later on. So they moved up here to the number 5 spot, and so we'll see what Caleb Porter and company have in mind here.
Looks like they're ready right now.
Okay, well, we'll find out. They have made a quick decision while we were talking to Kyrie Shelton.
With the 5th pick of the first round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, the Portland Timbers select from the University of Notre Dame midfielder Nick Beasler.
All right, if the name is familiar to you, it should be. Brother of Matt Beasler, a central defender with Sporting Kansas City and also with the U.S. men's national team. And now his younger brother Nick, a member of Major League Soccer as well. And a little bit of surprise on that one, I think, Jonathan. I think some people had him a little bit further down the list, but I think what we're getting to is that kind of mid-range of these guys where you have a pool that you can understand why they pick one guy or the other.
Yeah, the word was the top couple of players were pretty clear, and after that, from 3 to 35, it was pretty loose, and we're certainly seeing that right off the bat.
All right, Nick Beasler will make his comments.
I'd like to say thank you, MLS, for giving me this opportunity. I'm excited for what I have in front of me. I'd like to thank Portland for believing in me, taking me with this pick. I'm going to give everything I have to them and work to the goal of winning an MLS championship, MLS Cup. So I'd also like to thank Dan Siegel and Darren with Wasserman for kind of guiding me through my way throughout this whole process. I'd like to thank University of Notre Dame. It's the best university in the country, and I was really happy with my decision there. I'd like to thank my parents, Mom and Dad. You guys have been my number one fans throughout this whole process, and couldn't ask for better parents. And then I'd also like to thank my brothers, Matt and Mike, You guys have been great role models to me. I've looked up to you guys throughout my 21 years here. And I'd like to thank my coaches, my teammates. Without them, I wouldn't be the player I am today. God bless.
All right, Nick Beasler to the Portland Timbers, a team that has Will Johnson out to start the season with a broken leg. Diego Valeri out as well with an ACL tear. And even if he's not with Portland and Caleb Porter on the MLS level, he's got pretty good tutelage down with the Timbers too. Former Wake Forest coach Jay Vidovich.
That's right. I think Jay Vidovich is his type of player. You know, I think Caleb Porter, obviously coming from Akron, that they know the landscape very well. You look at Nick Beasler, neat and tidy on the ball, technically clean. And they wanted to put another guy into that midfield. We know Will Johnson, obviously, with the injury and the broken leg that he has. So maybe for depth purposes, no Valeri to start the season off for them, injured as well. It's good to have a guy like that for depth.
And you talk about Jay Vidovich. He's a guy from the college scene, of course, knows Nick Beasler very well. This wasn't a combine pick. This was a we've done our homework pick.
Right, and of course, like he's under a great coach of Bobby Clark at Notre Dame. So fantastic for him to have that type of development. And he's prepared him for the next level. So good pick.
Toronto FC on the clock right now. They're a team that in essence has gotten 2 first-round draft picks. Jay Chapman was signed as a homegrown player. He was a guy that likely would have been a first-round pick here in this draft. So let's see who Toronto FC adds to their roster as we go back to Don Garber. All right, here comes the commissioner right now as we continue with the MLS SuperDraft.
With the 6th pick of the first round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, Toronto FC select from Syracuse University and a member of Generation Adidas goalkeeper Alex Bono.
The Chicago Fire are now on the clock.
This pick
Alex Bono, who was a
how far Major League Soccer
Herman Trophy
has come.
finalist.
Alex is with the full senior U.S. men's national
Alex
team.
has been called into camp with the national team, so he is not here in Philadelphia for the Super Draft. So Alex Bono going to Toronto. They get a pretty good player. We're joined now, but I'll make sure that I get this one right because it's been for so many years that I've said something else.
That high?
It is San Jose. San Jose
Am I still in the shot?
Earthquakes head coach Dominic Kinnear.
Hi, Joe.
Dom, thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you. How you doing?
Good,
hey, John.
yourself?
John.
So first things first, before we get to your player, there seemed a little discussion between you guys and NYCFC.
Yes, there was.
And was it more that you wanted to get an extra pick, or you just wanted to move up?
Would you like the complete truth?
Sure.
We were trying to acquire their pick with allocation money.
Okay.
There it is.
And obviously it didn't work out, so you have the 4th pick.
Didn't work out, yeah.
How important was this pick for you guys, at least for the fact that unless you do something else, is the last pick you had today?
Yeah, well, we traded away our 2nd-round pick for Mark Sherrod, the guy I knew from Houston, right after the expansion draft. And, coming in here, there was a good little dose of forwards. And we thought, we had our eye on one of those top 3. That's why we were trying to move out, try to get one of those guys as well. But then with the 4th pick, we thought, Fatai was good. Reminds me of a young Ricardo Clark in a way, and that's always a good thing to have.
All right, I'll throw it to Jonathan Yardley because once Fatai Alashi was picked, he brought up Ricardo Clark's name.
It's a natural thought process. He was a guy who sat out the combine. What did you see from him on tape that made him so attractive?
Yeah, just very athletic, good in the ball, good range of passing. Steve Ralston's got a good relationship with his college coach and just said a lot of good things about him. Tim Hanley one time talked to Todd Galey at Indiana University and said, "What do you think?" And he goes, "This kid's ready to go." So had some good comments from Caleb Porter afterwards. We had him with the 23s and said, "It's a good pick for us." So all around, that's been thumbs up.
Dominic, how important is it when you guys look at a player, and certainly, from the coaching staff point of view, the psychological aspect of that player's mentality, how he is in the dressing room, not just his ability alone, skill set on the field?
Yeah, really good. Funny enough, John, we did a couple of interviews, and they're usually low-key and kind of fun, not too intense. And I thought out of the guys, and no disrespect to the other guys we interviewed, he was the best one. Some of his examples of what he thought of MLS really kind of spoke to us. So I think one of the answers was, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? He goes, I see myself as an MLS All-Star. So he's not having his sights on something else. He wants to come in and play right away, and that had a good impression on us.
How much in that interview process, Dom, is it not so much about what they tell you about the game, but what you glean from them as a person?
A little bit of both. I think everyone watches a lot of football these days, as we all know. And you kind of ask them who's your favorite MLS player because, everyone likes Thierry Henry or Robbie Keane, but you kind of want to see if there's anybody in their position that these guys liked. And the one person he picked out, he said he enjoyed watching Tony Chani play. And I thought Tony Chani had a great season last year for Columbus, and that kind of means to us this guy's a student of the game, not only worldwide but in MLS. And if he can follow Tony Chani's footsteps, he's doing pretty good.
What about in terms of putting this team together for you? Is there something else that you're still looking to negotiate with, not just in terms of here in the draft itself, but player depth in your chart?
Yeah, I think as far as today goes, John, I think that maybe the end of us, unless someone comes up and says, hey, you want to do something. When you look at our roster, coming into this draft, I think the need for a forward that can maybe pull away from the back line is something, and that's the reason why we were trying to move up in the draft there a little bit. So I think we made some good acquisitions in the re-entry drafts and dispersal drafts. This is the last one. Fortunately, we picked up another good piece, so now it's a little bit maybe outside of America or within the league, try and pick up someone who has that pace to break away and really threaten defenses.
All right, Dom Kinnear, head coach, San Jose Earthquakes. Thanks for a few moments. Good luck.
JJJ, thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Dom. And the Chicago Fire, they are now on the clock, ready to make their pick. It is a team that needs some help in the back, so here it comes.
Of the first round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, the Chicago Fire select from Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, defender Matt Polster.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm now on the clock.
Hey, can I call this one? I'm going to tell you what the Dynamo are going to pick.
All right, Matt Polster, Southern Illinois. So they take a somewhat local kid in terms that he played near Chicago college-wise, even though he's from Las Vegas. But a defender, we knew that there's a team that needed some help in the back, especially when Frank Yallop gets on board and somebody says, Jeff Laurent, you really don't have any center backs on MLS Extra Time Radio, which you can hear on Sirius XM FC 94. And he said, well, we do. I consider Jeff Laurentowicz a center back, so that may be why they needed a player here like Matt Polster.
Sorry. We've all dreamed about it, playing pro, so being here is amazing. I would like to say thank you to Chicago Fire, obviously, for believing in me. I just wanted to say thank you to my parents. They've been supporting me since day one and couldn't ask for anything more. I just want to say thank you to Southern Illinois University of Edwardsville. They've been very supportive, and the coaching staffs there have always been very good. Kevin Kalish, Scott Donnelly, and now David Korn. They've been very supportive. Lastly, I would like to thank Simon Keith. He's been very influential in my life. He's been a mentor. And just want to say thank you again for this opportunity.
All right, Matt Polster, he's the first player we've really seen get emotional and really that moment where you see this is a guy whose dreams being realized here today.
It's great to see the human side of the emotion and the realization that I have a great opportunity here that's been presented to me to be a professional player. And he said it right away. We've all dreamed about it, but now it's a reality. And so this is great to see from him. Obviously a passionate guy and certainly a player that can step in and challenge for a spot in the back line.
Yeah, and the thing about Polster, he wasn't on my radar, certainly, going into the Combine. He didn't sign a senior contract with MLS before this draft,
right?
So he didn't expect to go this high. He stood out in the Combine. He played both center back and defensive midfield, created turnovers, really active. He was honestly more in defensive midfield, so I am curious to hear how Frank Yallop and Chicago want to use him. But really good Combine. I know he shot up my board because of it, and possibly Chicago's as well.
Yeah, the guy who showed that he can have some versatility on the field. Houston Dynamo on the clock. They're one of the two teams, Sporting Kansas City the other, that are moving into the Western Conference with the addition of NYCFC and Orlando. And for the Houston Dynamo, well, we didn't let Dom Kinnear stick around. He wanted to tell us who he felt they were going to pick. But it is some help in the midfield and maybe somebody at center back. They do get the big prize from the breakup of Chivas USA, and that is Cubo Torres, although they won't get him until the summer because part of that deal was that he goes on loan to Chivas Guadalajara for the first 6 months.
Yeah, again, and Owen Coyle, this is a new landscape for him. He's come in here, all the experience in playing, coaching in the Premier League, Division I as well, in the championship. So he's got to rely on a lot of people around him, Jonathan, right, to help him with these picks.
Yeah, you saw Matt Jordan, the new general manager, Nick Koba, the assistant general manager, a big part of the scouting and the interview process. And I think Houston's going best player available here. Get someone who can contribute off the bench. They're not expecting to fill a starting spot here, which is going to be a refrain.
Right.
They're going to take the best attacking player available, and it probably needs to be an American player because Torres has their last international slot.
All right, that is a good point to know, and we'll see what it will be as Don Garber makes his way to the podium.
With the 8th pick of the first round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, the Houston Dynamo select from Butler University midfielder Zach Steinberger. And unfortunately, Zach is unable to be with us here today. Next pick, the 9th pick.
All right, Zach Steinberger from Butler University. So he will provide some of the help they need in the midfield. And it is a guy who has moved around. He's learned the game not only here in the U.S., but he's lived in 3 different countries.
Yeah, he's played youth soccer in Slovakia. He's moved all around the U.S. He calls San Diego home. His parents live in Kentucky. This is a little bit under the radar, but he's a guy who, again, had a good combine, keeps things simple in the midfield, and then as the combine went on, he got more comfortable trying to make passes forward, trying to make more decisive passes, and I think that caught people's eye.
No, I think, too, Dominic Kinnear has shown us throughout his coaching career that he wants solid guys, and then maybe this is just a player for him that he knows that not only is he offering that type of solid type of mentality, I'm sorry, with Houston, not Dominic's not with Houston anymore, Owen Coyle, but maybe not just that, but a guy that has that flexibility to be used as a utility player and shift him around. So, look, I mean, this is a guy that maybe could step in and be one of those role players, for them, and be identified in the preseason.
And it's a guy in Owen Coyle who, somewhat like we talked about with Dominic Kinnear in San Jose, he's got a lot of players there that aren't necessarily his players. This is his first chance to work a guy in and see where they can make that. We're going to talk to Owen Coyle here in just a few minutes about this pick by the Houston Dynamo. And what's the factor as well here as we take a look at the Houston Dynamo projected lineup with Will Bruin up front, of course. But how does this change for this team going into the Western Conference?
That's a big challenge. I mean, let's be honest. The West has been stronger than the East. They have L.A., Seattle, and Salt Lake, the teams that are perennial contenders. For both Houston and Kansas City, it's a huge challenge and a huge step up, honestly, in depth-wise, going from East to West.
I agree with them 100%. I think that more so you're going to see them really test the waters of what they're all about. Not just the resilience of this team, but longevity, too. Can they stand in? Oh, how are you, Paul? Good to see you. How are you?
All right, and there we hear the lovely dulcet tone. We'll try to make him feel at home. Owen Coyle, the head coach manager of the Houston Dynamo. And what is it that you like about adding a player like Zach Steinberger to your roster?
Well, obviously, my first impressions were very good. He controlled every game that he played in. He's lovely passing the ball. And it was an area that we can strengthen. So I think we've got the best player available and an area that can help the team. We interviewed him. Lovely young lad, very motivated, wants to do his best. Real desire to do well in the game. And that was a big thing for me as well.
Oh, and how about some of the experience that you bring from the Premier League, Championship, everything about the football that you have, the depth of knowledge? How do you transition that into this league, and what are you looking forward to and the different challenges you face here?
Well, again, it's a great question. I mean, I've been very fortunate that I've brought my teams from the Premier League, from the Championship to the US the last 6-7 years. And year by year, I've seen that the teams are getting better, the standard's certainly on the rise, and the league is growing for me to be one of the top leagues in world football. But within that, there's loads of stuff I have to learn. This is new to me, some intricacies within the league, but in essence, it's the same game, 11v11.
Can't recreate it, right?
Yeah, for my part, and this relates back to the pick today. I've loved working with young players, Jack Wilshere, Daniel Sturridge, Gary Cahill, Champions League winners, young players that you can develop and grow. And I think that obviously now, where the league is, it's important that we do that as well to enhance the league. And this young player will certainly complement that. So it's a real challenge, an exciting challenge. And as I say, I can't wait to get started.
I'm curious, obviously Cubo Torres is a player team has acquired, expected to come in the summer. How do you kind of plan for the length of time without him and then plan to throw somebody in there mid-season?
Well, it's a very good question. First and foremost, as we all know, when you get quality players, you want them into your club. So when that comes in, that'll be a natural involvement. But just now, we're making forward plans in terms of that as well. We have some terrific strikers, Giles Barnes, Will Bruin, and probably watch this space. We'll look to add to another exciting young talent. That brought young Miranda in, the winger from Argentina. So we're certainly trying to be
Toronto FC has called
offensive
a
with
5-minute
terrific players.
timeout.
And again, again, that's another challenge that we all face. But as I said before, for me, it's just such an exciting time, and you want those exciting players on the pitch. When Kubo comes in, I think he'll light the place up. I'm looking forward to it. Having been a striker myself, you want to work with those type of players. And at the age he's at, it's a great age for us. So for me, he can only get better. And it's a tremendous coup for Houston Dynamo.
All right, let's let everybody know Toronto FC has taken their 5-minute timeout. We'll see what they're working on here. To talk about Kubo Torres, it's the nice thing, I guess, from your perspective as well, it's not that he's sitting around recovering from an injury or whatnot. He'll be playing with one of the top teams in Mexico. He'll be match fit when he comes to you.
Absolutely, and as I said before, in an ideal situation, we'd love to have him just now, but within the deal itself, when he comes in, you're right, we don't have to worry about getting him in condition. He'll be ready to go, he'll be ready to score goals, and for us that's going to be an important thing. I mean, the match winners, I don't think you can ever have enough match winners at your club, and Kubo Torres is certainly that.
At the other end of the field, Raul Rodriguez, the Spanish center back, comes in. I know Matt Jordan was the one who went over there and scouted him. What did he tell you, and what makes him a good fit for you guys at the back?
Well, Raul Rodriguez is a player I know from the last few years, obviously at Espanyol. A few European teams had tried to sign him over the course of the last few years. So again, for us to bring a player of that calibre, listen, he's played against some of the best attacking players in the world, Ronaldo, Messi, Gareth Bale. But again, the great thing for me, and you'll know this, John, from sitting with people, he wanted to come on board, he wanted to be a part of what we're doing. And that was huge for me, because when you sit with players, you want to know they're committed to how you see it panning out. And that was a big thing. All the experience he's had in La Liga, he wants to now bring that to MLS. Understanding, he knows there's good players here, there's good teams, and he comes with his eyes wide open, ready for the next challenge.
Oh, and when you talk about not just ability alone of a player, but the mentality, to me, I think it's understated quite often. When you look at the focus that comes in, the concentration that you've worked with some of the top players in the world, and now you look at this landscape, how much of a challenge is it for you to bring those ideas, but that everyday approach to the game?
Well, again, yeah, you're right, because I think you know yourself from the level you play that you obviously want to demand that standard of everybody, and I think that's important that you strive for that. We understand within Houston Dynamo, we're not the biggest team in the league, but we have to be the best at what we can be. Right. And within that, you're right, that becomes with standards at training, training with that intensity, so it's a natural progression into games. And again, of course, it's another challenge, understanding certainly some of the players I work with, there'll be players at different levels, but the great thing is, as long as they're receptive to working hard, to improving, which is so important in a young soccer player's career, if they have that mentality, then I look forward to working with them, because I'm sure we can grow together. And as I say, it's an exciting challenge.
As a Scotsman myself, have you found a good cup of tea yet? That's the main thing. Well, you get a proper cup of tea.
Well, it is for me, because as you know, I don't drink any alcohol. I'm teetotal, so that'll be an important part. Make sure I get my.
We had Yorkshire Gold here the other day, but anyway, we'll bring some. We'll get you sorted out.
All right, Owen Coyle, thanks for a few moments here. Cheers, and good luck for the upcoming
Pleasure.
season.
Thanks very much, gentlemen.
Right.
Thank you.
Owen Coyle, head coach of the Houston Dynamo, as they have made their pick. As we continue here, Toronto FC now on the clock, and who will follow Zach Steinberger? The Toronto FC, actually, this is a pick. They would have had the pick up above. They traded to Houston, but they also have already selected. That was the Chivas USA pick when they selected Alex Bono. And so now we get down to their second pick here. Still that need along the back line and on the left side of midfield. They do have Jay Chapman. They do have Michael Bradley. Josie Altidore looks like he's coming in. There's talk today about Sebastian Giovinco coming to Toronto. If they do that, they're going to have 4 DPs, so they're going to need to do something about Gilberto. So there's some moves to be made here for this Toronto club.
I think it's a big challenge, too, for Vanny, being his first full season. He wants some continuity, some stability within this group. He's going to want to take somebody that can really step in there, because the more that you have to, and it's not a negative situation, but the more you have to spend time grooming a player and trying to manage that day-to-day within a big group, he's got enough to deal with, I think, as design. They still haven't made the playoffs, so they got a lot of expectations at this club and a lot of challenges ahead of them.
With the 9th pick of the first round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, Toronto FC select from North Carolina University defender Clément Simonin. Clément is not with us today. 10th pick on the clock.
Sorry, Casey, I'm now on the clock.
All right, and it is Clément Simonin from Lorient, France, who played at the University of North Carolina. Suffice it to say, folks, they've gone a bit off the board here in making this pick. You can take a look at how you're going to rank different players. And Clement Simeon is not a guy, Jonathan, that really you thought may even make it into the first 2 rounds.
No, I mean, Clement Simeon from France wasn't on the Combine invite list. He wasn't even on kind of the list of top snubs from the Combine.
And he's
so it's a curious one.
A Wolfpack guy.
That's right, North Carolina State.
North Carolina
State.
Yes.
Okay,
I think
North Carolina
I think the
University.
commissioner may have read North Carolina on that. But it's an interesting one. Toronto obviously comfortable with using an international slot and needing depth at the back. Hagelin and Caldwell really the only center backs they have. My guess is they feel comfortable that he can fill in that spot if needed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, they're looking to add pieces to the puzzle here, Jonathan and Joe. And, we all know the biggest talk about this is Josie Altidore. I mean, is this going to happen? Defoe? There's been such a carousel, never mind in terms of the coaching staff, that has changed dramatically from one year to the next. Unbelievable. So this is an unsettled group. And Vanny steps in here. He's going to want to see, stability from the preseason. Not just, when I kick off throughout the season. So they are hoping that regardless of what the pieces of the puzzle they add today, they want that Josie Altidore to be done. They want it to be a done deal, and it looks like it is. So that could be a very important issue for them to kind of sort out moving forward with this group.
Well, and as you mentioned, bringing in Altidore, do they get Sebastian Giovinco? This is a team in flux here, and I think what we've seen in this pick of Clement Simeon, the first real pick of a team picking for the future.
Yeah, certainly. And again, Toronto's one of the teams that's going to start a USL Pro team this year for the first time, so I think you would also expect him to get minutes there. It's also a team that has 3 picks in the first round. As you mentioned, Jay Chapman is as good as another one.
Yeah.
So they kind of have picks to burn here. And if they couldn't find a good offer during that timeout, they said, all right, we'll take this guy who's on our list who a lot of teams in the room hadn't ranked, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I mean, but they also, too, let's not be naive. We know coaches are going to look at players in this certain draft bar and look at them as a utility player. Can they be versatile? Are they going to be able to not just here, but can they cover a position for me as a left back, center back, right back maybe in terms of the defensive positions? Can he even maybe hold as a midfielder once in a while? You never know.
All right, we are ready for the next pick here in the draft as Sporting Kansas City with the 10th overall pick. It is a pick they acquired from the hometown Philadelphia Union. We get a look at Peter Vermes.
Right, with the 10th pick of the first round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft. Sporting Kansas City selects from the University of California midfielder Connor Hallisey.
Connor Hallisey was a Hermann Trophy semifinalist. 8 goals, 11 assists in 18 games in his senior year. And he goes number 10 to Sporting KC. We will mention very quickly, just to put a ball on Clement Simeon, played at North Carolina State University, 17 games this past season, 4 goals, including a game winner from his position along the back line. Now Connor Hallisey to Sporting Kansas City, and again, a guy to go into the midfield for a team moving into the Western Conference this year.
Yeah, and I've seen this player play quite a bit. Obviously played with his coach at the national team level, Kevin Grimes, and prepares the guys very well. And there he is taking a selfie with Don Garber. Good player. And whenever I look at him, good left-sided player, he's been really linked up with a guy like Eddie Lewis.
First and foremost, I'd just like to thank my family, my mom, my dad, my grandma, my brother, my sister, my girlfriend Jordan. They've been very supportive of me, and I couldn't have asked for anything more from them. Second of all, I'd like to thank my club coaches, a few of which are here, Paul O'Brien, Nathan Williams. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys. I also like to thank the University of California, Berkeley, which is actually the best university in the world. And my head coach, Kevin Grimes, all the assistant coaches, Peter Lair, Leonard Griffin, and even this year, Javier Ayala Hill. I'd really like to thank all you guys, everybody at the university, all my teammates, everybody that's helped me in the past. I'd also like to thank the league and Sporting KC for believing in me. Thank you guys very much for this opportunity.
I was saying earlier that he's similar to an Eddie Lewis type player, and this was him at the Combine. Shows good versatility, likes to take players one-on-one, good touch, awareness too on the ball. I mean, he really does know his position well.
Yeah, and he had a great year in college. Mac Herman Trophy semifinalist. Didn't have a contract going into the combine. By the end of it, he had signed an MLS senior contract. So that tells you that his stock was good, but he made it rise during the combine.
All right, Connor Hallisey reminding us that this is a draft of college players and keeping that school spirit in there after Nick Beasler said that Notre Dame was the best university in the country. Well, he upped it and said it's UCal Berkeley, the best in the world.
I think he was also the first to mention his girlfriend, so that's always a little check mark in the pool is who drops that name.
Oh, there you go. And a confident guy willing to take a selfie with the commissioner, Don Garber. So
he'll fit right in Kansas City with Dom Dwyer.
They pick up that midfield spot. Roger Espinoza coming back to Sporting Kansas City. So this is a club that still needs a little bit of help along the back line.
Yeah, and they've got another pick coming 2 picks later. Almost all the center backs are still available, so I think they felt confident they could address that 2 picks later. Outside forwards, wingers was kind of their main need, and Hallisey fills that, whether it's playing time from the start or wait till midseason to kind of work him in remains to be seen, but he can definitely help on the left.
All right, Toronto FC with their 3rd pick of the first 11, and they get a chance to decide what they're going to do here. And, we can talk about the teams that don't have a lot of picks, a la the San Jose Earthquakes. Well, here, this is a team that, as we've said, that has had so many players come in and out. Now they get a chance to add 3 guys in the top 11. And you wonder, with that they already took their 5-minute timeout, so we don't have to worry about that one coming here, which you thought maybe if you have that timeout, you're going to hold it till this 3rd and final pick, because that may be the one you can finally trade. But I think they're going to get 3 quality guys here.
Yeah, and I think, as we talked about before, it's going to be building for the future. I think they're going to get players that maybe play USL Pro this year or go back and forth between the MLS and USL Pro team and are expected to contribute at BMO Field next year or the year after.
All right, MLS Commissioner Don Garber ready to announce the 11th pick in the draft for Toronto FC. And it is a team, as we mentioned, had Jay Chapman. They have Michael Bradley. Josie Altidore looks like he's going to come into the fold as well. And it is a club that's looking to see if they can kind of start to do some damage in the Eastern Conference. They have struggled the last few years, to say the least, and looking to turn things around. They have already selected Alex Bono, and then it was Toronto, of course, that went surprised everyone with Clement Simonet from North Carolina State University. So we'll see if the little bit of time they're taking here is so everybody can figure out if they've taken another guy a little bit off the board. But we'll find out right now.
With the 11th pick of the first round, the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, Toronto FC picked from Syracuse University, defender Skylar Thomas.
Okay, so Toronto FC, let's just point out, Toronto isn't that far from Syracuse, and that appears to where they did a lot of their scouting, because they took Alex Bono already, and now they go here.
And he is Canadian, so
right.
It's a great fit for them from that regard. It fills that center back need we were talking about. To be honest, Skylar Thomas didn't look all that great at the combine, but he's certainly a big kid. You see the numbers, 6'4", good in college when he's been healthy. And again, Toronto is going to look to get him serious minutes at the USL Pro level this year, and maybe some in MLS as well.
Well, I mean, they got the situation now. When you think about DK had come in, Finley's there, possible Josie Altidore, Gilberto, right, as a DP.
It's a lot of front runners.
Yeah, there's a lot of front runners. So they're looking to secure things from the goalkeeper right through the back line.
All right, let's hear from Skylar Thomas.
Thank you. First off, I'd like to start with my family. My mom, my dad, a few relatives are over there. Thank you guys so much. I couldn't be here without you guys. Coaches from way back to Ajax. Yes, Tom Croft, Mike Croft, thank you guys for teaching me everything I know. Syracuse coaches as well. Appreciate you guys so much. You guys have really helped my development, and I thank you guys. To my agent, Costa and Bobby, you guys are great, awesome. Thank you guys for doing all the work you've done, and appreciate it. And that's basically it. Go Toronto. Thank you.
All right, Skylar Thomas, and he mentioned his club at Ajax, and Ajax Soccer Club, one of the preeminent clubs in Canada and in the Toronto area. So we get a look of what he did at the Combine. And again, he's the guy that kind of jumps out physically here thus far in the draft at 6'4", 205.
Yeah, you want guys who can bang, and obviously they've got physical presences already with Caldwell and Marshall, but Thomas is even bigger. And so, Greg Vandy's a defender. Obviously, he was an outside back. He likes having big guys covering him in the middle, and Thomas is certainly capable of that. And again, very familiar with him from his youth soccer days in Ontario.
And the other thing, too, is that's one of the first things. Sometimes when you're scouting a player, you look at that, the impressive size of this guy, right? But you also know, too, and all the coaches are thinking this positional sense. How good or how quickly can this player really, at the speed of play at the pro level, adapt? And so that's the biggest challenge, I think, for Skylar Thomas, coming into this.
So Skylar Thomas going to Toronto, and that means next on the clock is Sporting Kansas City, and it gives us a moment to kind of take it, what we had as our projections here. Frankly, Jonathan Yardley putting a lot of this together. And the one guy that still jumps out here, Christian Roldan, you thought could go second overall.
Yeah, and I wasn't the only one. I wasn't alone.
Oh, no, you're not alone here. And, and the question, and the story you don't have yet, did he fall down the steps somewhere or something? So here comes Don Garber. We'll see if Roldan goes here.
The 12th pick of the first round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, Sporting Kansas City select from the University of Akron, defender Saad Abdul Salam.
The Vancouver Whitecaps SC now on the clock.
All right, Saad Abdul Salam from Akron going to Sporting Kansas City. So Christian Roldan still on the clock. And the only thing on Roldan that jumps out, maybe the fact that he's 5'8", and teams concerned about his size. But other than that, they're now starting to address some needs. And that's what we get here with Saad Abdul Salam.
Yeah, they wanted some outside back help. Abdul Salam not only can move, but he's big. At 6'3", he's kind of lanky on that right side. He was a great story. He was a walk-on at Akron. He told Caleb Porter walking around campus, hey, I'm going to come try out for you. Well, he did, and he made the team, ended up as a 2-year starter for Akron. So interesting to see Abdul Salam go to Kansas City. I think he wouldn't have minded Columbus, but we'll hear from him now.
Just want to thank God foremost for making this all possible. This is still just so unreal and an unbelievable feeling. Just be able to say and play pro soccer. I want to thank MLS, Sporting Kansas City for believing in me. I'm going to give them my all. I want to thank my mom, my brother that can make the trip, and teammates, friends. Actually, the greatest university is University of Akron, just to clear that up. Yeah, I want to thank the coaching staff at Akron, Coach Embrick, everyone that coached me and believed me along the way. Thank you, guys. I'll make you proud.
Saad Abdul Salam. And you look at some of his college action, and with one of the programs really under Caleb Porter that's risen to prominence and is a guy that really has gotten a lot of experience at the highest level of the college game.
Yeah, he has. And certainly, too, you look at the needs of all these teams, and one of the things for Sporting Kansas City is, can we provide a little bit more depth, the size, the strength, and what Peter Vermes likes to do in a 4-3-3, pushing his fullbacks forward, guys that like to get forward. He's definitely one of those players, very comfortable with the ball coming forward out of the back.
Vancouver Whitecaps are now on the clock. This will be the 13th overall pick here at the MLS SuperDraft here on SiriusXM FC 94 and MLSsoccer.com. And for Vancouver, they have Darren Maddox up front. Octavio Rivero coming in as a designated player. But this is a team like so many of these teams, it seems, they need some help in the back. There seems to be kind of a dearth of quality center backs and defensive mids right now around the league, and you can see in negotiations with a couple of guys, and Andy O'Brien and Johnny Leveron, but we'll see what happens with Vancouver here at the 13th overall pick.
Well, it's really interesting so far. Usually Generation Adidas players are first off the board. They're young players, they came out early as underclassmen, and they don't count against your salary budget for the first couple of years. 2 of them are still on the board. Christian Roldan, who we talked about, little smaller guy, definitely a prospect for a couple years from now. And then Connor Donovan, who's a center back, but he's also young. He's a freshman. He's currently with the U20 national team. He's another project a couple years away, but you do see the Vancouver need center back depth. They just acquired another starting center back, so maybe Donovan here, but this draft has thrown us plenty of surprises so far, so nothing's going to take us by surprise anymore.
Yeah, just one note of business here. that Vancouver was in negotiations with Andy O'Brien. Those talks have broken down, so he won't be back.
Right. And the one thing, too, about Carl Robinson, the head coach, is, you look at their situation, and maybe it's, for them, the depth in terms of the defensive positioning, Jonathan. I kind of agree with you. Conceding goals last year, and now they want to maybe shore that up, and they need another player in there that could help them do that. Like we said before, how many times do you look at a player, the injuries that come up, and you still need a guy that can be versatile across that back line?
Take a look at what is on offer for a projected starting lineup for the Vancouver Whitecaps as they've called their 5-minute timeout.
The Vancouver Whitecaps have taken a timeout.
Okay, and there's the official announcement of that, the 5-minute timeout for Vancouver. But as we mentioned, Darren Maddox up front, and this is a team that really, if they can have the success, everything else seems to be there in the market, John. The stadium, the support, it's all there. All they need to do is show what they can do on the field.
Yeah, and they're starting to make progress. Playoffs 2 out of the last 3 seasons. I think certainly Vancouver, Carl Robinson's quoted as saying we need wide area, center back, and forward. So on the field, that's what he's thinking about. That wide area first is kind of the wild card here. You've got a guy like Akil Barrett, who's an international player, but is a really tricky winger who could be available. And we know it's a team that likes to attack from wide. They have Hurtado, who you see. They have Kakuta Mane. So that could play into their style of play.
Well, and the other thing, too, is that, I think they play a great, flow of the game. They really do. And almost to a point with Carl Robinson, he's almost a perfectionist in turning the purest side of the game, like movement off the ball to a fault. So they might just need a big body in there to change up things and be a player that could not be that kind of intricate midfield player, but maybe be that guy at the back that provides a little bit of balance to them, because they have a lot of guys going forward. Like you said, that transition game, that has to be a concern for them.
Yeah, they have this 13th pick. They have another pick in the second round. Then they have 5 picks on Tuesday between the 3rd and 4th rounds.
That's for the USL Pro team that they're starting this year. You have to imagine.
I agree with you. I think so. Do you think there's a consideration here for even a trade at this point? Would they use this pick? Or
they could. There's enough center backs on the board.
And not only enough center backs, but Christian Roldan's still out there.
Yeah. And so
there may be a team lower. Yes. There may be a team 18-19 who says, I don't know that he falls to here, but if I can get him now at 13, let me make the deal.
Yeah, and maybe it's a team like Real Salt Lake. Maybe Jeff Cassar is looking at this and saying, midfield play, I like this guy. Roldan, I want to trade up.
Craig Weibel coached Roldan at the University of Washington.
Thank you. I didn't say that.
All right, let's catch up real quick where we are in this 2015 Super Draft here on Sirius XM FC 94 and MLSsoccer.com. First overall pick, as we thought, Kyle Larin out of the University of Connecticut going to Orlando City, Oregon State. Sticking with men up front, going with Kyrie Shelton from NYCFC. Sticking with guys up front, going with Kyrie Shelton from Oregon State. And then the Montreal Impact selecting Romario Williams from Jamaica and the University of Central Florida. Fatai Alashi goes to Michigan State. From Michigan State, and the number 4 spot goes to San Jose. The Portland Timbers selecting Nick Beasler, younger brother of Matt Beasler of Sporting Kansas City. Nick will be in Portland after finishing his career at Notre Dame. The first of 3 picks in the top 11 for Toronto FC was Syracuse goalie Alex Bono, and then Matt Polster out of Southern Illinois at Edwardsville going to the Chicago Fire. Very emotional when Polster spoke to the crowd here at the Pennsylvania Convention Center. And the Houston Dynamo going midfield help in the form of Zach Steinberger out of Butler. And then the big surprise came 9th overall. Toronto FC going with Clément Simonet, a defender from NC State, from Lorient, France. And really a surprise to everybody before Cal Berkeley product Connor Hallisey went to Sporting Kansas City. Skylar Thomas, the Canadian out of Syracuse, right back onto the board for Toronto FC. They had the 6th, the 9th, and the 11th picks. And then Sporting Kansas City has made the most recent selection, Saad Abdul Salam out of the University of Akron.
It's amazing how different teams can see this pool of talent and evaluate it so differently, right? I talked to people from a couple of different clubs, and I said, run down my list. Am I crazy with this order? And they said, no, you're all right. And we've had guys I had the second round going first 10. We had Simonet, who I'd never heard of, going in the first 15. So it really speaks to each team has its own process. And the interviews at the Combine were part of that, right? One team interviewed every player that was there. Another interviewed only 10. And most were obviously somewhere in between, talking to 25, 30, or 40. And so everybody evaluates differently. everybody prioritizes differently. And we're seeing some of that with a guy like Christian Roldan and with Connor Donovan, a G8 product, dropping down the board.
And we're starting to hear some rumblings that it is actually Seattle, speaking of the University of Washington product, Christian Roldan, that Seattle may be the ones who are in talks right now with their rivals, that Cascadia Cup rivalry between Vancouver and Seattle and Portland. And we'll see what the announcement is. Don Garber ready to come to the podium. And will Vancouver keep the pick? Will they trade the pick? Will Christian Roldan find a home? Or will he be the member of this draft that everybody said, what happened with Christian Roldan?
Here you see Garth Lagerwey from Seattle on the right, Fernando Clavijo from Dallas on the left. That's pick 15.
With the 13th pick of the first round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, Vancouver Whitecaps FC select from St. John's University defender Tim Parker. Tim Parker was unable to be with us today.
All right, Tim Parker out of St. John's University, a defender. Didn't have to come far for this draft, a couple of hours away from the New York City area. And here's a guy, again,
he is here.
Another big, yeah, he is here. Another big, solid defender at 6'2".
He's here today, and he's welcome up to the stage.
And he's got the versatility. He could step outside, but mostly you see him as a center back. He's excellent in the air. He's been in U.S. Under-23 camp, and you know he's from the New York area. His favorite athlete is O.C. Umenyiora.
And another guy with a quality program led by Dave Mazer.
Wow, what a moment this is. I'm honored, very honored. I'd like to thank the MLS, and I'd like to thank the Vancouver organization for giving me this opportunity. And I'd also like to thank my agent, Ron Waxman, my coaching staff at St. John's University. Under Dr. Dave Mazer, I learned a lot there over my last 4 years. And of course, I want to thank my family, my mom, my dad, my brother, who are all here with me today. They've been my biggest fans since day one, and they've done a lot for me. And I want to thank everyone back home who's been supporting me my whole life. Thank you.
All right, Tim Parker out of St. John's, and as we mentioned, under a guy like Dave Mazer.
Dr. Dave Mazer, by the way. Dr. Dave Mazer.
Don't shortchange the man.
Yeah, he and Jeff Mateo. Jeff Mateo actually gave me some information, too, on Parker. He's saying one of the fastest athletic players they've had in a long time. And so Vancouver, looking at this situation of maybe they can get him to a position where he could start right away for them. Also, we talk about positioning of a player, you know. This guy has been hard to beat. Not just because of his athleticism, but his speed, but also awareness. So 1v1 situation, very good. Jeff Mateo passing on that information. Assistant coach as well under Dr. Dave.
Yeah, curious to see where he finds the playing time. Obviously, they just brought in a center back, and they have Kendall Waston, who was so important for them down the stretch. So he could be, again, one of those guys kind of shuttling back and forth between MLS and USL Pro.
All right, Columbus Crew now on the clock with the 14th overall selection. As we get back to some teams in the Eastern Conference, we had Portland, Sporting Kansas City, Vancouver, a little triumvirate of Western Conference teams. And for the Columbus Crew, again, along the back line, and maybe somebody up front. They did, though, just acquire Kai Kamara. And with Kai Kamara coming aboard, Tony Chani, who Dom Kinnear mentioned, as far as one of his players following guys. But for this Columbus team, again, it's just almost shocking to me and also shows you the importance of having quality guys on the back line, because you can almost say that for all 20 teams that they can fill a void there in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, well, you're looking to build a backbone, right? Where do you start? You know, your center backs, not only are they going to be the defensive leaders of your team, and, you know, they're also going to be maybe the guys that distribute and set the tone from the back. So that's key for most coaches, most managers. They want that backbone down the middle. They look at the goalkeeper, the center backs, midfielder up top. They got Higuain. They just re-signed him again, so he's staying on board. So they want to make sure that they fill that gap in that center back position for them, maybe even that midfield position for them.
Now, I've been trying to keep an eye on the floor, and Greg Berhalter has been talking with the Colorado Rapids. He has the pick in his hand, but he's kind of mulling it over like he's making this decision. So very interesting to see, but obviously still people looking to trade up for some of those names that we've talked about who've slipped down the board.
All right, it is the Columbus Crew on the clock right now. We'll see if they're going to deal it or not, but we do have Connor Hallisey As he joins us, he is the newest member of Sporting Kansas City, one of the newest members. They've had a couple of picks here today. And Connor, what went through your head when you finally heard your name called?
It's just it's been an awesome experience so far this week, and you never know what it's going to be like when they call your name, but it was an awesome experience, and I'm shaking right now because I'm so excited. So it was awesome.
All right, Columbus has now taken their 5-minute timeout, which means we get a little more time with Connor, who has let us all know that Cal Berkeley is the best school in not only in America but in the world.
Yeah.
And how about how that time at Cal Berkeley has prepared you to make the jump here to Major League Soccer?
Yeah, Kevin Grimes, the head coach, does a great job of preparing you as a soccer player, but also as a human being, and molding you as a great young man. And so the coaching staff, student services, professors, everybody at the university has done a phenomenal job, and they prepare kids for future. And Cal's done a great job in the business world and in the MLS, and so it shows what they groom there and mold into young men. And so I couldn't be more thankful for everything they've done for me.
I watched you play against my son's team, Wake Forest, at the beginning of the season. It was early, and certainly liked you in terms of style of play. You look so comfortable on the ball in pressured situations. And Kevin, I talked to Kevin quite a bit, about. That's one of the things that you're always looking to put players in those positions to say, can you play yourself out of it? You seem to have that kind of, I guess, that ability, awareness, everything about. Is that something every day in training that he pushes you to provide for your team at Cal Berkeley, and now you got to transition this into Sporting Kansas City?
Definitely, yeah. Cal is known for playing great soccer, and Kevin caters all the drills and trainings to that, and he picks the right players to come into the school and play that kind of soccer. And so every day training with those guys has been a great experience, and Kevin and all the assistant coaches, it's been awesome, and I feel very prepared for my future, and I'm very excited.
I'm curious about your combine experience, because you didn't have a contract going in, and of course you signed last week before the draft. What was the process like? What were the interviews like? And did you know Kansas City was one of the teams looking at you?
Yeah, it was an awesome experience. Going into the combine, I obviously didn't have a contract, but I just went out there with the attitude I was going to show everything I could on the field. And so I think I did that this week and showed my potential and gave it my all for all three games. So. And Kansas City, Sporting Kansas City is an awesome club with a great history, and Peter Vermees is an awesome coach, and I'm excited to get going. And I thought I'd heard a little bit that they were interested, but you never know, and so I couldn't be more thankful for the opportunity.
Anybody else close to you that you talked to kind of make that jump from the condensed college schedule to where you're now going to be playing? Training camp opens in February. You're going to go, hopefully, if your team succeeds, you're going to go almost to December.
Yeah, there's luckily last year we had a great class that went on to the league this year and did very well. Steve Birnbaum, he's been a great guy for me, great leader last year, and I've spoken to him a lot about his experiences this year, and he really enjoyed it, but he says it's a different game, and so you have to adapt. But he says it's the best thing he's ever done, and he wishes me all the best. And having guys like that are older and more experienced, it's really good to help me and other guys coming to the league do well.
What an exciting day for you and your family. And I mean, it must be a bit of a relief to say, like, all this build up towards this. Now you get the pick. You're on there. You got the scarf on. It looks good on you. Your hair's perfect. I mean, this guy. Look at this guy. He came prepared. Well. Is there anything else that Kevin Grimes or Grimmer, as we like to call him, that didn't prepare you? I mean,
I don't know. He's got everything. He's an all-around great guy, and I think I'm a product of him and all my other club coaches and my parents, and I'm happy with where I am today.
Excellent.
So.
Congrats to you, man.
Thank you very much, guys.
I think you had two firsts here today, Connor. You were the first guy to take a selfie with the commissioner, and sir, he's the first guy to mention his girlfriend in the thank yous, right? I believe so.
Yeah.
So he's got those two to start with. Congratulations on the selection. Good luck in the career.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Connor Hallisey, newest member of Sporting Kansas City, as he joins us here on our coverage of the MLS SuperDraft. Sirius XM FC 94, MLSsoccer.com, and Jonathan Yardley's scoping of the draft floor seems to have paid off, as it does seem that the trade will be the Colorado Rapids moving up in the draft order and acquiring this 14th overall selection from Columbus. Colorado was not scheduled to pick until number 19.
14 players out in Colorado in the offseason. There's going to be a lot of changes. They were last in Major League Soccer in defense, 13th in scoring last year. Not a good year. Where do they need? Well, they need a little bit in the defensive midfield, to be honest, is one of the spots we had targeted, and also depth kind of really all around, let's be completely honest about it. I'm wondering if this is Roldan. He projects as a defending midfielder. It would be a long-term project, not an immediate fix for Colorado, but That was just kind of my first thought is, again, who are you going to trade up to get? But I've been wrong all day about him going, so
well,
obviously we don't know.
Oh, yes and no. And it's a team that doesn't have, a ton of DPs, so there could be some news coming up before the start of this season as well that they add in that vein as well. So let's go to the commissioner.
So this is the first of our drafts where we've had 4 timeouts in our, not even at our 14th pick. It's also the first time that we've gone this far without having a trade. We do have our first trade. That trade is the Columbus Crew and the Colorado Rapids. The Columbus Crew have traded a 2016 SuperDraft pick to the Colorado Rapids for the Colorado Rapids' 19th overall pick in this 2015 SuperDraft and future consideration. Everybody got that?
So who's picking next?
So if we have this correct, then
that pick that Colorado just received in the trade with Columbus, the Colorado Rapids with the 14th pick in the first round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft select from Marquette University defender Axel Højbjerg.
Well done to the commissioner. He got the name right.
Axel Højbjerg from Sweden and Marquette University. So let's just clean up the one thing. So Columbus will move down to number 19. Colorado does indeed get the 14th overall pick here in this draft. But from what I can tell, they get the 14th pick and a 2016 SuperDraft pick next year in exchange for this pick and future consideration.
Wait,
so
Columbus Crew gets the 2016 pick, no? Or they're giving that up to allow Colorado?
All right, we'll get it in just a sec.
Well, he's a little bit taller than Don Garber.
He's a little bit taller than just about everybody here.
I must say this is a dream come true, and I've truly enjoyed every single second of this. I'm really grateful for it, and but I'm still going on for the next chapter in my career now, and I hope to make an impact in the MLS. With that, I want to thank the Colorado coaching team for putting their confidence in me, and I hope to return that and then some. I want to thank a lot of people, obviously. Dan Siegel, Darren, and the Wasserman team. Thank you, guys. Thank you to MLS for a great combine and for hosting this as well. I want to thank my coaches and my teammates, my coaches here today and my teammates watching at Marquette University. Without those guys, I couldn't have done this. Likewise, I want to thank the PDL and Thunder Bay Chill. I know they're rooting for me. Moreover, I want to thank my family, obviously. Family and friends, both in Milwaukee and back in Sweden, that are watching this. And everyone means the world to me. So, again, thank you. This is quite the experience.
All right, that is Alex Højbjerg. And here, Columbus gets a 2016 SuperDraft pick and future considerations, and Colorado acquiring that 14th pick. So they... Okay, and based on... Okay.
So they move up in the draft to get Højbjerg, 6'7", Swedish player from Marquette. I like this guy. Dean's List every semester. He says he loves America's national parks. He's gone to Yosemite. He's gone to Yellowstone. I feel like he fits right in with the kind of outdoorsiness of Colorado.
How's his pace, Jonathan?
Yeah, he's not the quickest. I mean, he's 6'7". When they had little 5'9" guys running at him the first day, and they caused him some problems. So you're going to want to pair him with a guy.
Is he in the mold? And I'm not saying, guys, I'm not saying he is like this player, but is he in the mold of a Per Mertesacker? A player that kind of reads the game well, positionally, great in the air, strengths, and maybe, he can get that one-on-one kind of reach in for the foot, with his long legs, steal the ball, but still has to work on that positional depth and speed of play turning?
I think that would be a fair, assessment, obviously, at a different level of upside.
Right.
But yeah, I liked him. He's a good character, and I think there were a lot of questions about him going into the draft. Everybody knew he was 6'7". Everybody wanted to see how would he handle better players. And aside from that one half where he had 2 5'9" guys on his side, and even then I don't think they gave up a goal, he handled himself very well at the back for the team that ended up being the best at the Combine.
All right, so it is Colorado moving up to that 14th spot to select Axel Højbjerg from Sweden and Marquette University, and that means that FC Dallas is now on the clock. And for FC Dallas, this is another team we take a look at needs and whatnot that they have, and we're going to talk about, again, another club looking to try and build some stuff in the back. Center backs, outside backs, central midfield, and this is an interesting team that we can talk about last year and go back to what teams can do with a player in the draft, and maybe somebody that everybody didn't have high on their radar for making an impact in MLS, but sure did, was Tesho Akindele, 6th overall pick. Turned out to be the 2014 Rookie of the Year. And can they do that again here a little bit further down in the order as FC Dallas selecting in the number 15 spot?
Oscar Pareja has a habit of pulling a rabbit out in these drafts. He's got a very good eye for both for talent and who will fit into his team the best. So whoever it turns out to be, you kind of have the confidence in Pareja that it's going to work out for the best through his track record so far.
And here comes Commissioner Don Garber with the pick, number 15 overall in this draft.
With the 15th pick of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, FC Dallas select from the University of California, Riverside, defender Otis Earl. Otis not here today.
All right, from UCal Riverside, it is left back Otis Earl. If the last name is familiar to folks who watch the Premier League on NBC Sports Network, yes, he is the son of one of their studio commentators, Robbie Earl, and Otis Earl going 15th overall to FC Dallas. And for Otis Earl, said his best moment was seeing his dad play in the World Cup in 1998.
Yeah, not too bad, huh? Yeah, he's a sizable left back, and again, he'll count as a domestic player. He does have a green card, and we were curious to see where he would go as well. Again, some had him higher, can get forward, and this will certainly help Dallas. They let Jair Benitez go. Moises Hernandez is over there on the left side. This certainly gives them more depth at that spot, that defense you were talking about, Joe.
Also a green card holder, too, which is key. So, they don't have to go through the issue of being an international status. So, very good for them.
Okay, we talk about Otis Earl being able to watch his father, Robbie, play in the World Cup. Well, our next guest got to see his brother play in the World Cup. Nick Beasler joining us here today. And Nick had to wait a little bit, but then Portland comes up and selects you, and you get to not only go to a market that is just fervent about the game, but a few times a year you're going to get to maybe go up against your brother.
Yeah, that'll be pretty exciting. I've never played against him before due to the age difference, but right now I'm just extremely excited to join Portland in the organization. I think they're a tremendous organization, and I can't wait to get up to Portland.
Nick, talk about the tutelage and the educational process. You mentioned being at Notre Dame, but Bobby Clark, just on and off the field, his experience in the game and what he brings to depth and knowledge in the game.
I think Coach Clark is one of the best in the college games. I think if you look at the recent Notre Dame alum to join MLS, they've been extremely successful. Dylan Powers winning Rookie of the Year, Harry Shipp, beat right there as well. So I think the way Coach Clark prepares his players is it's in a professional manner, and I was extremely lucky to get that opportunity to play under him.
Now, Nick, obviously, we're showing the fans a few clips of you, but how do you think about your own game? What do you bring to the table? What can the Timbers fans expect from you?
I think I'm a really smart player. You know what you're going to get from me. Technically sound. I can get the ball in tight spaces. I can get the ball up the field in attacking positions.
Let me ask you a question. When we talk about your brother and what you've seen his transition and the maturation of him into a position of high pressure, does he speak to you often about these are the next things you got to start putting into your game? The mental attitude, about what comes with not just on the field but off the field, preparation every day.
Sometimes. I think the majority of our conversations are, brother to brother, what you would expect from a normal family. And, we talk to each other about, I ask him how his wife's doing, he asks me how school is going, but, every now and then we'll talk about soccer, which is what most people might not expect. But
be honest, though. He did kick you a lot. He did kick you a lot in the backyard when you were younger. There's a chance for you to get back after him.
I'm going to get him back.
This is what we're talking about, Nick.
I've lost too many games to both my brothers when I was younger, so I'm going to get them back.
All right,
Good
Nick
stuff.
Beasler,
Congratulations.
newest member of the Portland Timbers. Thanks for a few moments. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
All right, and while we were talking to Nick, you got to see the video. Garth Lagerwey left Real Salt Lake, went to Seattle. Well, he's trying to make a deal, so he goes back to the guys he knows best, and that is at Real Salt Lake. And we are ready for the announcement of our second trade of the afternoon here. And we wonder if this finally solves the Christian Roldan mystery as Seattle trying to move up once again. And we saw kind of the completion of the paperwork there as we were talking to Nick, and now we're just waiting for the official announcement.
Yeah, Seattle was out of the first round. They don't pick until 27, and then again at 40. So this is a spot where they can maybe get up and get a player who's going to make more of an impact than they were expecting going into the day.
And as we said, Christian Roldan from the University of Washington. We've talked about how he's on the board here, still available, and that's likely why Seattle is making this trade to try and see if they can keep the local guy at home. We'll wait and see. Their pick was down at number 19 that has gone to Colorado through a number of varied and different sources. So as you mentioned, Jonathan, they really had to move up a lot in this draft. So there's Christian Roldan, 5'8", 165 pounds, out of the University of Washington. A guy who idolizes Andres Iniesta, another kind of small guy, but this is somebody who really a great mystery here that we're sitting on the number 16 pick in the draft, and a guy who we thought easily was going to be top 5 has dropped to this spot.
Yeah, it really is a surprise, but this is a spot where Seattle needs help. Their acquisitions have not been in midfield this year.
We have another trade to announce between the Seattle Sounders and Real Salt Lake. Real Salt Lake have traded the 16th pick of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft to Seattle for the 27th overall pick in this year's draft and other consideration. And with the 16th pick, the first round of the 2015 SuperDraft, Seattle have selected from the University of Washington and a member of Generation Adidas, midfielder Christian Roldan.
Mystery solved.
Yeah, he spent 2 years at the University of Washington. Roldan's originally from California. His brother actually plays at Seattle University, so he gets to stay close to him in terms of family. You have to imagine for Christian Roldan, he didn't know where he was going, but you got to think he was expecting to go higher. So it's probably been a sweaty first hour of this draft for him. It's a big relief off his shoulders as he gets to go to the podium.
And there we see Roldan with the Commissioner Don Garber, and he will now address the crowd here at the Pennsylvania Convention Center.
Wow. I am nervous as hell. I'll tell you guys that much. Quick thank yous. I'd like to thank my family. They've been super supportive about this. My brother, who is here, has been a big part of making the decision to leave school early. I'd like to thank Seattle Sounders. I know they have made some big moves, and I appreciate it. Seattle is my second home, and I'm glad to spend the next however long I could be there. And I will learn from veterans like Ozzy Alonso, Gonzalo Pineda, and strive to be just like them. I'd like to thank John Spencer and James Grant for making this possible, friends and family. And I also like to thank the community of Pico Rivera for all the support. Thank you.
Christian Roldan referring to Pico Rivera, which is where he grew up in California. This is a guy, kind of more of a guy in that midfield role. You're not going to look for a ton of offense from him. You're going to look for distribution.
Yeah, he really stood out on the first day of the Combine, just moving at a speed that was faster than everybody else. And as the week went on, there he's playing against the Sounders, I think. He struggled a little bit more with physicality, and so that's one of the things he's going to need to work on. He's a small guy, and they want him to play in a deeper midfield role. He's going to have to bulk up a little bit, and Sounders are one of those teams that have added a standalone USL Pro team, and I have to imagine that's where a lot of his reps are going to come this year.
I'm high on players like Christian Roldan, a guy that has a soccer IQ, first touch on the ball. Really the weight of the pass is excellent. I think, these are the type of characteristic traits you want to see more of. In terms of the entertainment of the game, I think it's huge. And so this is a big pick. I mean, I agree with you that maybe there's a little anxiety there. As a player, you go down the list like Jonathan, you mentioned. He didn't get picked as high, but at the end of the day, guys, you're hoping that they're speaking to them saying, just relax, you're going to be fine.
All right, he's been picked. He is now a member of Seattle, and that puts DC United on the clock.
With the 17th pick of the first round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, DC United select from the University of San Francisco forward Miguel Aguilar.
The New York Red Bulls are now on the clock.
All right. And it's not a long trip for the Red Bull fans to get here, so they are here in force. Red Bulls on the clock with Miguel Aguilar out of the University of San Francisco going to DC United, a team that had record improvement in Major League Soccer this past season in point turnaround from finishing with just 3 wins 2 seasons ago and then finishing atop of the Eastern Conference before getting knocked out of the playoffs by Red Bull fans who are cheering right now.
Yeah, such a great year for DC, and Ben Olsen needs to find a way to keep that going and win consistently year after year. And this, to me, seems like going to the well that he's enjoyed success with before in DC. Chris Pontius, Nick De Leon, attacking wide players. Miguel Aguilar was a center forward in college. He's 5'9". You're not going to play center forward in MLS at 5'9". So at the Combine, they moved him out wide. And this is what you're going to see. It's the second half on Sunday. He took the game over, a goal and an assist, almost got his team back in it. And his ability from wide areas, he was number 80 right there, is what is going to make him dangerous when he comes on as a late game sub.
Yeah, again, that individual 1v1 ability, Ben Olsen changing things at DC United, from 2 years ago only winning 3 games to really, pushing themselves up, Eastern Conference winners this year. Struggled in the playoffs, as we know, didn't get that win at all. But another player that Ben likes to look at and say, can he be a guy that takes somebody on and opens up the game for me? And that's what he provides. So, well done. Good for DC United picking him up.
All right, Red Bulls on the clock right now. And the New York Red Bulls in the news as well this past week with the shock firing of head coach Mike Petke, who in the 2 seasons he was head coach won the Supporters Shield and went into the finals this past year, the Eastern Conference Final. Let's see what the new regime selects here.
With the 18th pick of the first round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, the New York Red Bulls select from UCLA midfielder Leo Stultz.
All right, and Red Bulls.
Leo was unable to make it today.
And Red Bulls, in a way, kind of going out on a limb here, guys, I think, with Leo Stultz, who everybody had really high in their draft rankings, and then he alluded to the fact that maybe he doesn't want to play in Major League Soccer.
I had heard that at the beginning of the college season, that he wasn't going to be playing in Major League Soccer. Again, Wake Forest experience, watched him play in the beginning of the season on their schedule down at Wake, and Leo, good on the ball, likes to control it. In the semifinals and finals, we saw him play, dictate the play. Very good awareness, experience, maturity. But I was told even back in September that he might not even continue playing soccer at this point. People were talking to me about, I don't know what he's going to do. And I go, you got to be kidding me. But now we're finding out that maybe he's seeking an opportunity overseas. So it is risky from the Red Bulls to put themselves in this position, but maybe not as risky as a lot of the moves they made in the last 4 or 5 weeks. Changing the club.
And I was going to say,
it's a different direction. J.C. Morris saying maybe they've had conversations with him, and maybe they've convinced him to say, look, we want you.
Yeah, I mean, it has high upside, right? Leo Stultz is the Mac Hermann Trophy winner as the top player in the country this year. He did not go to the Combine. He has not signed a contract, although the league has had discussions with him. And so any team that takes him has to think they can sign him.
Of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, the Columbus Crew select from the University of Connecticut defender Sergio Campbell.
All right, quick turnaround for the Columbus Crew, and why not? They had a lot of time to think about what their pick may have been had they held on to the number 14 spot, and now they move down here. And it is Sergio Campbell out of the University of Connecticut, another big physical defender, 6'4", almost 200 pounds.
This is what the Crew were looking for. They were looking for the third center back. They have Michael Parkhurst. They have Emmanuel Pogatetz, who is a big guy. Sergio Campbell is even bigger, and that's why they traded down. That's why they let Hoiberg slide by, is to get this guy. Huge presence, was very good at the Combine, both in reading the game and in passing out of the back. He was able to control his clearances and find teammates more often than not. So they think he's their pick as a physical presence who can also help them start the offense with those passes out of the back.
Again, you quite often you look at teams and maybe like because of the trades or a different type of direction or vision from a coach or a technical staff, they let a player go. And then they say, well, have they really filled that void? Well, Chad Marshall, goes to Seattle. And realistically, Greg Berhalter has an opportunity now to say, wow, I've got to really fill that void. I've got to make this work. So maybe this is their mindset, changing them right now and getting this guy.
Well, you can see for Columbus wanting to fill that role of finding a center back, and they do that in Sergio Campbell. And you have to wonder in that whole trade discussion, was Campbell their target all along, or did they at least feel, based on what we think the projections are of other teams, and if we move from 14 down to 19, one of the guys we want is still going to be there?
I have to think they had a short list. And, Hoiberg, Campbell, Omar Ballo from UMBC were among the guys. And they knew, okay, one of these guys is going to be there if we drop down 5 spots.
All right, there are 2 picks remaining here in the first round of this 2015 MLS SuperDraft. And right now, Sporting Kansas City, a pick they acquired from New England. This is their 3rd pick
with
of the first round.
With the 20th pick of the first round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, Sporting Kansas City selects from Clemson University midfielder Amadou Dia. Congratulations, Amadou.
And that puts Los Angeles on the clock for the final pick here in the first round of this MLS SuperDraft. There are 21 picks because Chivas USA, which was dissolved at the end of the season, had made some selections. Had made some trades, and so there are 21 picks in the first round and 21 picks here in the second round.
I'll tell you right now, I don't know a whole lot about Amadou Dia. I'll tell you that Kansas City is one of the teams that invests the most in scouting domestically, in scouting the college game, the amateur game, and even the professional leagues. They like to pull guys and keep them off everybody else's radar, right? And so this strikes me as one of those. He's an experienced guy. He's a domestic player. Beyond that, I don't know, but I can tell you Peter Vermes knows what he's doing.
Big guy out of Clemson.
I know him, and obviously my son being the ACC at Wake Forest, so I get to see Mike Noonan and Clemson, what they've been doing. They played in the quarterfinals this year, lost to him in penalties. And, Amadou Dia is a player that's very versatile. He can be in the midfield. He can play up front. He can play on the wings. So he's very creative in terms of that explosiveness, too. He can strike a ball very well. So picking up a guy like that, they did their homework. They say, look, we want to add that, to the equation. Another guy in depth, again, that can play in various positions from midfield going forward. So good guy.
Well, and this is another guy we're going to look at, similar to maybe Christian Roldan in the sense of a young guy, comparatively speaking, when you look at the league, who needs to bulk up a little bit. 5'9", 145 pounds. And that's a guy who, frankly, in this league, from day one in 1996, and it hasn't changed until now, it's a physical league.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree with you, but it is. But if your awareness and you're smart and your speed of thought is there, you're crafty enough, you can get around it. You can play.
Okay.
So having said that, some players aren't like that. But, hey, LA Galaxy, Bruce Arena, defending champions once again. How much success does this guy have? His staff, fantastic. See Dave Sarek in there as well. Making some changes. Here's some of the team needs we talked about. Wide midfielder, goalkeeper, center back position. Always looking to, strengthen their side each and every year. Steven Gerrard coming in July. What a fantastic player. We had Bruce on counterattack the other night. Just talking about what he adds to the dimension of this squad. Another professional. High expectations with this group. Once again, what are they looking for here, Jonathan? What do you think?
Well, you see the needs. They're loaded in central midfield, even if they move Marcelo Sarvis, which is the rumor, to bring Gerrard in. Wide midfield is where they need help. All they really have out there is Ishizaki on the right, maybe Husidic on the left, maybe a forward coming back into midfield like a Giassi's Artist, who we've seen play out wide. You're going to need more numbers there. You can move some guys in around. Robbie Rogers can still play in the midfield, of course, but depth at wide midfield is a need. You have to think they're probably going to sign somebody else as well, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to get one in the draft. They're probably also talking to some people and seeing if they can trade down, because acquiring assets is such a key part of this draft process.
And they do not have a pick in the second round. That is worth noting, but are we being a little nitpicky here? I mean, the success that Bruce Arena has had in the Galaxy and the championships they've won of late, I mean, really, how much depth do they need to fill? I mean, to talk about a team that really just seems to reload. They lose Landon Donovan to retirement. Hey, here's Steven Gerrard.
Oh, yeah, they're loaded, and it's going to stay that way for a little while. I mean, there's no signs of this juggernaut slowing down.
Yeah, and again, they're always looking to develop those players from LA too. Curtin Alfo doing a good job managing that side. He knows the landscape very well. The discussions are going to be there. So whether or not they make a trade, whether or not they want another player to come in, they also might be renegotiating some deals as well and contracts that they have with their own players at this point in time. So it's something that all goes into the equation.
All right. A championship for the Los Angeles Galaxy. They will close out the first round with the final pick here, 21st overall. And after that pick is made by MLS Commissioner Don Garber, he will join us here at the draft table for our coverage on MLSsoccer.com and SiriusXM FC 94. But let's find out who the Galaxy take with the final pick of the first round.
With the 21st pick of the first round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, the Los Angeles Galaxy select from Iona College, forward Ignacio Magato. After Ignacio's comments, this will conclude the first round. There will only be a 5-minute break until the second round of the draft.
So Ignacio Magato from Iona via Spain, played in the youth setup at Getafe, and did some training with Manchester City. And some stuff with NYCFC coming into the New York area. Iona up in Westchester County, if you're people not familiar with where they are.
This guy tore up the combine, and we were looking for him to get to New York City at 23. He goes 2 picks earlier to L.A. Curious to hear what he has to say.
For this opportunity they are giving me, and I'll try to do my best, and hopefully this is the beginning of a long career in the MLS. I also want to thank my whole family who is supporting me, my girlfriend, and obviously Iona College and my coach Fernando Barboro for everything they've done. Thanks to everyone.
Ignacio Maganto out of Iona, and he is headed to the reigning champions in Major League Soccer, the Los Angeles Galaxy. For our viewers on MLSsoccer.com, this from the Combines.
They lined him up outside on day one. He was able to convince one of his teammates 20 minutes into the game to let him move inside, and he stayed at that number 10 spot for the rest of the Combine. He's tiny, but he's so good with the ball. His range of passing was really exceptional. He hit great long balls to hit guys in stride and tight little one-touch passes in tight space. So really impressed with Maganto. Obviously, there's questions about the physicality, and he takes up an international slot. But as always, good get for Bruce Arena.
Yeah, again, and they do their homework, right? And they look at you have a good eye for talent. You have so many players on their staff, former players, Pat Noonan, Matt Reese, all these guys that look at that and they say, he's a guy that fits into our style of play as well. So that little short passing game through the midfield, creativity, they're willing to take a chance on a guy like that from Spain.
Well, and you say take a chance, and I think it's worth bringing up, as you mentioned, Jonathan, it's going to cost an international slot. So that's another part that goes into the decision-making process here, is if you're going to decide to pick a player, not only do you think it's going to be somebody that contribute and fill a need on your team, but the way the roster rules are in MLS, does he make sense? There may have been some other teams ahead of the Los Angeles Galaxy that would have loved to have had Ignacio Maganto, but couldn't afford to give up the international spot.
Right.
Yeah, those are precious. You want to save them for difference makers. Some teams have a surplus of them, especially if they can get green cards for guys who would otherwise take up an international slot. But you want difference makers. So there are some international players in this draft. Maganto, one of them. Talent-wise, I think they could have gone higher. International slots caused them to fall. It's worth noting that Maganto is one of the players who hasn't signed yet. So for players who didn't sign before the draft, there's no guarantee that they're on an MLS roster. But certainly you go at 21, use an international slot. The way we saw him perform in the Combine, you'd think you'd be seeing him in Galaxy Blue and Gold come March.
All right, first round is in the books here at the 2015 MLS SuperDraft. It started off with Kyle Larin out of the University of Connecticut going to Orlando. It has finished with Ignacio Maganto going to the defending champion Los Angeles Galaxy. When we come back, we'll hear from Major League Soccer Commissioner Don Garber, and then it will be the second round of the 2015 Major League Soccer SuperDraft live from Philadelphia.
Pontius gives way for Silva! Oh! Into the net! Into the net! beautiful! Luis Silva!
Goals already this season. A hat-trick last week at Portland. And Clint Dempsey has hit a fantastic one. It's gone in anyway from Obafemi Martins. Seattle are back on level terms. Striking this one, and that's all! That is a thunderbolt! That is a blistering effort from Mark Birch. It's a night for first, you know. His first for the Rapids. And the Rapids have now got that 2-goal.
Michelle, the shot is in. Tipped off the underside of the crossbar here in the 76th minute. And FC Dallas has cut the deficit in half. About 6 in the wall. It's all number 9. Gilberto fires and scores! My goodness, he backed it up with that!
Okay, all is forgiven, says Jermaine Defoe. What a bullet, his first goal in MLS.
Good reaction, that loose ball. Keane plays for Donovan. Donovan working out Shrewsbury to the byline. The cross for Robbie Keane! 2-1 Galaxy!
How lucky is Jeff Gassar to have the opportunity to look down his bench and bring on 2 players of this quality? It's absolutely bonkers that those are 2 options this late in the match.
Into the box it goes. Header it in! Savario! What a return! And Sava finds the back of the net!
Pedro Morales with the ball into the front post. Washington! And it's 1-0! Finally, the Whitecaps have their breakthrough! Kendall Washington! They need a win! Will that be the goal that gives them the victory?
Help is coming, it's Fabinho. Maidana, good run. Receives it, crosses it, takes it! Goal! Reunion!
Morales with the ball in. Washington diving! Washington scores! Kendall Washington with a goal from the set piece. Morales with the delivery. And it is 2-0 Whitecaps.
The AT&T Goal of the Year.
Martins making a run. Gets in there. What an effort! What a goal! It's over Baby Martins! And listen to this noise!
There's only one place Obafemi could have even thought about scoring. He had to put it on a postage stamp, and that's exactly what he did to open the scoring tonight.
Laid off, Papa will give it a go, deflected, parried away by Robles, and the rebound, he got that as well!
The thing that I notice every time I watch is just how loud the fans were after that second save. And I just want to say thank you for your support over the last 2.5 years. I hope that I can continue to replicate that, but more than anything, I'm just grateful for the appreciation and support that comes from the fans.
Back live at the Pennsylvania Convention Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. MLSsoccer.com and SiriusXM FC 94 proud to bring you the 2015 MLS SuperDraft. Along with Jonathan Yardley and John Harkes, I'm Joe Tollison. Our pleasure now to be joined by MLS Commissioner Don Garber. And Don, well, they made your job a little easier today. We only had a couple of trades there in the first round. But what does it mean to have this event in this situation with all the coaches around? I think it's really fascinating that you can have a lot of these draftees who say, hey, I got to see my youth coach or my college coach. He's here today. I want to thank him.
I think it's, Joe, it says a lot about what it is we're trying to do, which is connect the dots in the soccer community here in the United States and in Canada. You see some of these. I was with Landon Donovan earlier today, and he brought his youth coach to this event where we honored him. And you see the fans that come, and one of the young kids started crying when he was getting up there, man. It just makes you realize, this is a league that's arrived, and a lot of really important things are going on to set the new course for our history.
What from this, Don? I mean, over the years, you've looked at this format, the structure within the league itself. Tell us a little bit about what's so special about the draft, and what would you change, if anything, moving forward?
You know, it continues to evolve, John. I mean, you came into the league before we had the same draft structure that we have today, and Landon got up and talked about, hey, I came in and I wasn't drafted. You've got college soccer that's still producing most of our young players, but you got 150 homegrown players under contract in MLS, and the sport league is evolving, so I'm not sure where it goes. We love this event. We just think it's a great way to bring together kids, their families, you guys, our coaches, technical directors, and I can't imagine not having some event like this to kick off our year.
Real quickly, we hear so much from coaches saying USL Pro teams make the way we approach the draft different. What impact has that partnership with USL Pro, and what impact is it going to have with 7 new MLS standalone teams in USL Pro this year?
You know, I think the answer to that question will be, what's it going to be like 3 years from now? You know, the USL relationship's still new. 3, 4, 5 years from now, when all of our clubs are either owning or deeply engaged through affiliation, you've got massive academy investment. You start looking at all of that, it's going to be a different world. But it's not there yet. You know, college soccer is still. You know, look at the convention. The guys who run the NSCA have 34,000 people coming here. I mean, I can't imagine a convention bigger than that, right? So the sport still is very much geared in the grassroots and coming up the ranks through college.
All right, we have a couple of more questions, but Don has passed the torch to Todd Durbin, who's the Executive Vice President of Player Relations and Competition, and he will handle things here in the second round. And let's get underway. The first pick of the second round, and it belongs to Orlando City.
With the first pick of the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, Orlando City SC select from North Carolina State University and member of Generation Adidas, defender Connor Donovan.
All right.
Connor is with the U.S. Under-20 national team, but we do have a few remarks from him.
How about this, guys? You know, you have our senior team, you got a bunch of guys in the U20s. This is significant stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's an interesting draft, too, how the number of guys, not just for the U.S. team, but some of the other teams as well, Canada and whatnot, can't be here because they're in World Cup qualifying. And how do you cross the bridge now of a guy, say, like a Leo Stoltz, that a team has gone out and, in essence, taken a chance on? He's not signed with the league yet. I know it's incumbent on the team to a degree, but how much do you and the league get involved in trying to see if you can secure that player to sign?
Quite a bit. You know, we still are structured in a way where those contracts are negotiated by the league, and we're going to do everything we can to get that contract signed.
Does the Red Bulls taking him, did they get more involved with the talks, or does it stay at a league level?
Yeah, I mean, the discussions and the impetus behind the decision really comes for our teams. You know, the league is signing that contract, and it is the entity that we have. But, you know, the league's not telling the Red Bulls what to do. The Red Bulls are saying, hey, we want this player, now go figure out how to get him signed.
Don, you're juggling so much, you know, the CBA as well that's ongoing here. Can you talk to us about any of that at this current time? I mean, how's that progressing?
You know, the best I could say, John, and, you know, what you've read publicly is, you know, we're engaged actively with the MLS PU. We have a meeting with them next week, and we've been exchanging ideas and proposals, and we know what their issues are. I think they know the context in which we're going to have to make decisions, and I feel encouraged by the process and by how well balanced everybody seems to be around the table. But they're hard. You know, these things are not ever easy. Not just in sports, in any labor negotiation. So we'll go through the bumps and bruises, but we'll get a deal done. We're confident of that.
Well, good luck with everything.
Thanks,
we thank you for all the support that you're bringing to this game in our country. Thanks, Don.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Have fun. MLS Commissioner Don Garber, we thank him for joining us here. NYCFC on the clock right now with the second pick. It is number 23 overall. Again, 20 teams in MLS, but because of prior transactions with Chivas before the club was folded, there are 21 picks in each of these 2 rounds. And it is NYCFC. But let's go back. Connor Donovan, North Carolina State, is the guy selected by Orlando City.
Yeah, they needed center back depth. Okay, the guys they have there, for the most part, are young, in addition to Aurelien Collin, who they got from Kansas City. Donovan, again, He's just coming off his freshman year at North Carolina State, so it's a bit of a longer-term project, but it's a spot they needed. It doesn't count against their salary cap, and he's with the U.S. under-20 national team, so obviously a high upside for him.
Yeah, second youngest guy that's in the draft right now. Good upside for him, and certainly the experience he's getting at the U20s. Maybe they see that and they go, you know what, this is a guy with a lot of potential, that we can add to our group. So you wish him all the best. And certainly, I think he's the only college player that's on the U20 team at this point in time. So, Tab Ramos going with a lot of the professional players and the experience that's there. They're 1-1-1 so far, and we'll have to see how he transitions from that, into Orlando SC.
All right, NYCFC making their pick. Here's Todd
With
Durbin.
the second pick of the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, New York City FC select from the University of San Diego, midfielder Connor Brandt.
Okay, Connor Brandt to NYCFC, and it is the Portland Timbers that go on the clock right now. And you can see from Temecula, California, 6'1", 165 pounds. And boy, talk about an opportunity for a young midfielder coming out of college to what he'd be able to learn going into that NYCFC club.
Yeah, and he's there to fill a role on the left side. Doesn't really matter what that role is. He came in as a winger at the Combine. They said, we got too many guys who want to play forward. Somebody has to play left back. Connor Brandt said, I'll do it. And then teams started looking at him as a left back, but he was a winger in college, so he can do either. Excellent left foot. He's all left, and he's not shy about saying that, but he's very good with it, and certainly can find a spot with New York City.
Is he a player, do you think, Jonathan, because I haven't seen him play, but is he a player that you think has more defensive characteristic traits in his game, or more of a guy that says, I want to get involved, I want to push up the field a little bit more?
His instinct is to go forward.
Right.
I think certainly left back is a spot that could be a home like a Robbie Rogers, a Corey Ash, where they move backwards on the field a little bit. The technical ability, the ability to get forward is still there, but their positioning sense and learning the defensive side of the game, once they do that, they can be effective from that spot. But we'll see. Again, he likes wing, but he said, I asked him a couple times, I said, are you sure you're cool playing left back? He said, I'll play wherever I need to play. And obviously that's the answer every coach wants to hear.
Well, rare player who actually admits he only uses one of those feet to stand on. And that is what Connor Brandt does as he goes to NYCFC. Portland is on the clock right now, ready to make the 24th overall pick in this draft. And for Portland, they took Nick Beasler in the first round of the draft, Matt Beasler's brother. And as we take a look, center back, right back, central midfield, some of the needs for Portland. We mentioned before with the drafting of Nick Beasler that Will Johnson out for the beginning of the season, at minimum with that broken leg, and how Diego Valeri, once you get ligaments and all involved, it can be a bit of a crapshoot as to recovering from that, but two key players that are out.
Yeah, and we see right back as a spot of need, but to me it's outside back in general because Powell can play either side. One of the best players available who hasn't gone yet is a left back, Andy Toma, who was expected to go much earlier and has slipped, so that could be a possibility here. I mean, I thought Portland might take him earlier in the draft. They've got a spot now there with Jorge Villafana, the other option over on the left side. So that's just one option. Obviously, Caleb Porter knows the college ranks well. His staff knows the college ranks well. But certainly, it's not just right back. It's, for me, outside back in general.
And I know, of course, you see they don't make the playoffs last year. So the expectations for them are to challenge right away. And, that's that mindset. Caleb Porter being a very, not a serious guy all the time, but certainly looking at a player saying, can he step in and be a role for me?
All right, let's go once again to Todd Durbin for the
With the third pick of the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, the Portland Timbers select from the University of Washington, defender Andy Toma.
Orlando City SC are now on the clock.
So Andy Toma at the University of Washington, a guy who was invited to walk on. And he has now gone from a walk-on in college and has made it here into MLS. And a guy who really dedicated the game when you look at how far he would drive in New Mexico just to play club soccer.
Not a lot of high-level teams in Los Alamos. He had to drive 2 hours to Albuquerque. His parents really put in some miles behind the wheel.
Wow, to start off, this is a great experience. I couldn't imagine being anywhere else. I just want to start off saying thank you to my family, my mom, my dad, my two brothers, John and Nick, and my little sister, Rachel. They've been such a big part and always supporting me no matter what. I just have to thank them more than anyone. I have to thank my old club coach, Gabe Nocier, Evan Gartz. Definitely thank University of Washington, Jamie Clark, Jeff Rowan, Rich Reese, all those guys. My teammates, I definitely wouldn't be standing here without them. And lastly, I want to thank the Portland Timbers for showing confidence in me, and I can't wait to get to work. So thank you guys.
There's Andy Toma, a guy who was a high school track champion in New Mexico. There was a joke there, but I'd be showing my age about nuclear testing in Los Alamos, about why he had to go to Albuquerque.
No, he can't tell you what his dad is working on.
No.
That's why they live in Los Alamos. He doesn't know what his dad does at work.
See, I had a friend like that in high school. We were convinced CIA. There's a kid who almost aced the SATs and didn't know what his father did. But let's say we get back to Andy Toma here and what he can bring perhaps to the Portland Timbers.
I had coaches tell me they were glad he was playing poorly at the Combine because they thought he would slip to them. And obviously Portland is the beneficiary here. Rated as one of the top left backs all year. Just didn't make much of an impact at the Combine. But teams clearly, certain ones, still believe in him.
All right, Orlando City. They had the first pick of this round, which was Connor Donovan, and now just 3 picks later, they are ready to go once again. And so we turn it over once again to Todd Durbin.
With the 4th pick of the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, Orlando City SC select from the University of Tulsa, forward Akil Barrett.
All right, Akil Barrett out of the University of Tulsa, a winger who goes to Orlando City. And this is another one of those guys, John, to take a page from you to show that I'm listening and learning, that is going to have to use that skill and ability because he's only 130 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at players, too, that not only have the pace, like sometimes coaches will look at that characteristic trait and then say, well, where can we use him best? But also, how much is he going to be educated in the game? You know, simplifying the game for Akil is probably one of the main
First and foremost,
things.
I want to thank God for being here. I'm absolutely blessed for this opportunity. I just want to thank my teammates, my friends, my family, my coaches, especially my coach that flew from all the way from Tulsa to be here today, Tom McIntosh. If it wasn't for all of you guys, I wouldn't be able to be here today, and I'm very thankful for all of you. Thank you. Let's go on in the city.
All right, Akil Barrett, let's go Orlando City, one of the new expansion teams here in Major League Soccer. So they are a group as well that the supporters made the trip here to Philadelphia to see this inaugural draft for their club.
And Joe, Akil Barrett's a guy who came into the draft, into the Combine, I should say, without a contract. He was a late ad. He wasn't even among the first group in the Combine. His college coach, Tom McIntosh, had to fight to get him in. He got in. He was so good, he earned a contract by the end of it. He can be a little too flashy sometimes. He can make you pull your hair out by taking too many touches. But if you
strong
can get,
though, right?
if you
Strong
can get
on
him
the
to
ball.
simplify, he's great on the ball.
Yeah, very strong on the ball.
All right, joined now by Alexi Lalas, now with Fox Sports.
Gentlemen.
And helping with the soccer. Good. How are you, Alexi?
Hold on, let me just gaze upon you here because I've been in this seat for a number of years, and I cannot tell you how happy I am not to be in this seat. The 3 hours that is the MLS SuperDraft are 3 hours you will never get back in your life.
Well,
absolutely incredible you guys are still standing.
We have big news. We just negotiated with Fox to have you here for the rest of the day. So thank you.
I need to call my agent now. My goodness.
Well, but let's talk. We just had Orlando City make 2 of the first 4 picks here in the second round. They had the first overall pick in this draft. And go back to when you guys started this league in 1996 and think about where we are now, 20 years later, 20 teams. Now, there have been some blips along the way, the Miami Fusion and the Tampa Bay Mutiny and now Chivas USA. But not only adding the teams in Orlando and NYCFC, but LA coming back with another team. Atlanta is there as well, still working on another team in Miami. The fact that the interest is still there and the sport is growing, what that means 20 years down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's reflective of what this sport has become. And it's no longer underground. It's no longer niche. It's above ground. There is that organic and authentic type of view that people have. There's a whole generation now that the way they look at each other and at themselves is in the context of soccer, how they talk, what they wear, who they associate with. I mean, we see the supporters groups here, but it's so much more solid. Now that's the supporting, and that's the culture, the resources, the coaching that we have on the field, the infrastructure, the stadiums that we have, and just a general understanding on what soccer is.
All right, let's get another couple questions from in just a sec, but Colorado is ready to make their pick here in the second round. So let's once again turn it over to Todd Durbin as the Colorado Rapids.
There could be a trade. There could be a trade.
I can see Todd Durbin's head. He is making his way.
He's going back and
incredible
forth.
The way that he just saunters.
He's taking his time.
As opposed to the commissioner. See, here he is. It's a much more laid-back type of feel when Todd Durbin does it.
With the 5th pick of the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, the Colorado Rapids select from the United States Naval Academy, defender Joseph Greenspan.
Real Salt Lake are now on the clock.
So Joseph Greenspan, 6'6", 209 pounds, and may have to fulfill that commitment first, the military commitment. There are certain players, one named David Robinson, who got some exception out of that. I'm not sure if Joseph Greenspan will. And the fact of the matter is, when you talk to some of these guys, you have to find out if they even want to get out of it.
Well, first of all, he's from New Jersey. We like that on this show. And he's 6'6", so that stands out right away. And yeah, it's a question mark as far as availability, whether it's right away, whether it's maybe he serves 2 years and then gets a transfer back, but certainly they're looking to lock up his rights, and he was rated as one of the top center backs. The availability, the biggest question.
You know, I talked to Frankie Yallop, and he was saying that in terms of the main emphasis for him right now is a utility guy, a guy at the back that can play in various positions, somebody through the midfield if he wants, but big guy, obviously, but powerful. But is this? I mean, I'm sorry, not about Yallop, but he's at Colorado with.
But every team needs that kind of guy.
But this is what I'm saying. Like, as you look at it across the board, why is it? And Lexi being a center back for all your life at the national team, at the highest level, is it not just the power and the size and everything else? It's about understanding the game from a deeper position.
Sure. I mean, look, you'd like a center back to have some power and to be able to muscle, and certainly when the ball's in the air, you want guys to be able to head the ball out. But that can be overcome with time. And the consistency and the understanding comes from the brain. And look at Baresi, or the different players that weren't necessarily huge or imposing. So defending is much more about the brain than it is the brawn. Having said that, when you look back and you got a bunch of trees and a bunch of guys that you know are going to win every single duel, whether it's in the air or on the ground, and win the ball and give it back to you, those are the types of center backs that you want.
When you look at the future of this league now, as we've talked about the expansion and Landon Donovan now retiring, and we kind of have that passing of the torch, it seems that there is kind of that void to be filled of who's going to be the next star of this league.
Yeah, well, we need a hero. I mean, we're holding out for a hero. A hero needs to step up.
Does he have a cape or no cape?
I don't care if it's a cape. I don't care if it's
no
naked.
cape.
Somebody
No cape.
step up and fill that hole. Be the hero. And by the way, it's not just be as good as Landon Donovan. You have the opportunity to be different than Landon Donovan and lead this nation to the promised land, both in terms of your MLS play and that holy grail,
Cue
the
the
World
music.
Cup play.
Cue the music. I need some type of American music in the background.
Well, I need a
born in
hero.
the USA. Does it need to be a U.S. player that stands out? Like
Yeah, that's
for
what
you?
I was going to ask.
I mean, we've seen because now we have
Well, if we're comparing
Kaká,
Landon Donovan,
David
yeah. I mean, there can be huge stars that come over from different places and that are not American, but no one's going to have the impact that Landon Donovan is going to have if you're not when you're in the U.S. a U.S. player.
With the 6th pick of the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, Real Salt Lake select from the University of North Carolina, defender Boyd Okuanu.
The Chicago Fire.
All right, Boyd Okuanu is the selection for Real Salt Lake. We see him getting congratulations and he will make his way up to the stage. Alexi, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you, guys.
We enjoy the input as always, and
keep going. I'll buy you a drink at the bar tonight because you're going to need at least one.
Lexi, what can you tell us? How much of an impact CBA, real quick?
CBA is going to be huge. It's going to be a huge talking point. I think it's going to go down to the wire. I think the players are in a good position because the owners keep spending money, as we've seen, and so that's a good position in terms of leverage right now, but it's going to be a huge, huge story.
Thank you, buddy.
Appreciate it. Lawless joining us here at the draft table. See Boyd Okwanu from North Carolina, and let's get his thoughts here in Philadelphia.
First, I want to thank I want to thank my loved ones that are here for me. My brother Willie, best friend Sloan. I want to thank my University of North Carolina, coaches Chris, Jason, Grant Porter, Carlos Amano. I want to thank Real Salt Lake first for picking me. I'm very blessed with the opportunity. I'll make you guys proud. I'm very excited to dedicate my life to putting the heart on the field every day. And most importantly, I want to thank God. I want to thank my agency, Nico, Damani, and Patrick. I'm so thankful and blessed for this day, and I'm excited. So thank you very much. God bless everybody.
All right, Boyd Okwanu from the University of North Carolina. I'm going to assume you got to see him a little bit this year, John, and you look at the resume, and really all ACC freshman team, and then he was all ACC first team his last 3 years.
Yeah, one of the things for me impressive was his recovery speed. You know, in terms of if that line of defense gets beaten, he's able to cover and bounce, but also get back. And that, you see that right there in the highlights. I saw that, a couple times with UNC throughout the year. So a guy that's always going to challenge for the ball. Doesn't hold back.
Real Salt Lake needs cover both at center back and outside back. Okwanu can actually do both. He's 5'8", but he's played mostly in college as a center back, so the big question was, can he handle that? He actually says he prefers right back, which is where most project him. I talked to Craig Weibel about him, incidentally, and he said, I like his passing numbers from college. His passing numbers from college, his footwork is so good that I think he can play right back. So he can play it either for RSL, but I think right back is the future for Okwanu.
Fair to make a comparison to a degree to Connor Lade, now with Red Bulls, who was at St. John's, in the sense that here was another guy, kind of 5'6", playing center back in college, and now he's going to see if he can make a home outside.
Yeah, Okwanu's a little bigger, and I think a little stronger in the shoulders maybe than Lade, who's a little bit more of a technical move-the-ball kind of player. But certainly, yes, it's a question mark as far as is he going to play in the pros where he played in college, and that adjustment is going to take some time.
Yeah, but he's also, going back to, how he's different, physicality and everything else. He's a player that's very dynamic, and that's what they're going to want. So good for them picking him up.
All right, Chicago Fire on the clock right now, and for Chicago, we go back and look in the first round, and they took Matt Polster. He was a guy out of Southern Illinois. He was very emotional when he made his speech here to the crowd in Philadelphia. Let's find out what they do here.
With the 7th pick of the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, the Chicago Fire select from St. Louis University, forward Kingsley Bryce.
Toronto FC are now on the clock.
Okay, pick for the Chicago Fire, which I didn't quite catch from Todd Durbin.
So this is Kingsley Bryce.
Okay.
He was the absolute last player added to the Combine. He flew in the night before. I talked to him Thursday night. He looked exhausted, and he's managed to work his way into this spot. This is a bright kid. He's pre-med. He wants to be a children's pediatrician, 1 semester away from his degree. But on the field, good winger. When I saw him in the Combine, was able to get forward.
Intelligent with the ball?
You stole the words right out of my mouth. That's where I was going next. He's smart. He's smart with the ball.
I was going to say, if this guy wants to be a pediatrician and do med school, he's got the mental part of the game that John keeps looking for there, and obviously showed something in Florida to be the last guy in there that drew the attention of Chicago.
Yeah, this strikes me as a Combine pick in that they said, hey, we've got something. You see that sometimes. Coaches will just see a little flash. It doesn't even have to be a whole game. It can be a little flash. I like that. And that's what strikes me here, but it's also in Chicago's region. You have to imagine they scouted St. Louis pretty heavily.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, it's been such an overhaul, at Chicago Fire. Last year, it almost 18 ties in the league. I think it's maybe a world record, but anyway, we'll definitely talk about MLS record of getting the ties, but it's an overhaul. And there was going to be a lot of projects that went on throughout the process with Frank Yallop last year. And so the patience is there. So they're still tweaking things here and there and taking chances, and they can afford to take the risk right now.
And you can see the needs that they have, and then a couple of DPs that they brought in. David Akam from Ghana, and
great pickup, by the way. Great pickup. He's going to be huge.
And Kennedy Igboanike.
Oh, you were so close
I had
the
it all
first time.
afternoon until now.
He had it perfect this morning.
More coffee for Joe.
And Toronto FC on the clock again.
Again?
They
keep coming.
So we know where we are here in this draft.
When you never make the playoffs? You just keep getting these picks? I mean, what's going on?
Low blow.
How did they acquire?
Low blow.
No, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying. How did they acquire so many picks? How many trades are going on
in
here,
this
John?
case, I believe they got it from Houston.
This is
for when Houston wanted to bring DeMarcus Beasley and needed the top allocation spot.
Okay.
So there you go.
I think.
Need an allocation spot. So they did have 6, 9, 11, 29, 37, and they got 3 more on Tuesday in the 3rd and 4th rounds.
They said they wanted to double the number of players on their roster that had come through the draft. They currently had 3, and in a couple of years they want to at least double that and make that a core of consistency, because when they've studied other MLS teams, the ones that have won consistently have had a core that came through the draft. I read that on their website.
Okay, so there's a philosophy that's coming into play here, but having said that, this again, and we'll see how good their scouting is. I don't mean to harp on it. I don't think we would have come into today thinking that one of the more talked about names would have been Clement Simonet, but he comes up again here as one of those guys that they pick. Gilberto, you're still showing a projected starting lineup. That could change if Sebastian Giovinco, if that deal gets finalized. Josie Altidore likely to come in as well. Michael Bradley already there. Altidore would come in, which would see Jermaine Defoe leave and go to Sunderland. So
thank you. But one of the main things I would look at here, you've got to expect that the U.S. internationals, Bradley and Josie, if it gets done, are going to be away a lot. Do they fill those needs?
Gold Cup is a whole month.
With the 8th pick of the 2nd round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, Toronto FC select from the University of South Florida, defender Wesley Sharpie.
Okay, Wesley Sharpie out of South Florida is selected here. Used to have Tampa Bay Mutiny season tickets. We bring him up the second time in 20 minutes, Tampa Bay, when they had Carlos Valderrama.
He's a Florida kid through and through, right back, pretty technical. He's already got his degree in relational communications. I'm not sure what that is, but it sounds advanced. And I saw him in college and at the combine.
He's going to be the locker room guy.
Yes, he will communicate between players and staff, I'm sure. He's actually a French dual citizen. His mother is French.
Okay. So Wesley Sharpie going to Toronto and was one of the guys you figured had a potential to be going here.
What a rocker that is.
Yeah.
We're getting a look at the highlights, and that was on his left, too. He's a right-footed player.
That's the one thing, Jonathan, I was just going to say. He seems very comfortable, both-footed, which is key. You want to be able to adapt in certain situations, and, right, left-footed. So a guy that likes to get forward quite a bit. We've seen here a lot of strikes from him. You sure we're talking about a right back?
Right back. And we're seeing, I think, all of the potential strikes he had, because in his 4 years at South Florida, he had 5 goals, and they came in his freshman and sophomore seasons for Wesley Sharpie.
He's a little discussion going on there. Houston, KC.
Kansas City's up, and Houston looking to move. Matt Jordan, Peter Vermes, and Todd Durbin conversing.
Sporting KC on the clock right now. Houston.
Sign the paper. Here it goes. Sign the paper. Todd is saying, sign the paper.
6 sitting.
There'll be cheese and crackers and grapes later for you guys. Just get this done, because I don't want another timeout.
Is that
it's 2:18 on the clock.
Lip reading from
lip
here?
Reading. Vermes is going, are you guys kidding me right now? Kidding me. Are you kidding me? I could do 50 push-ups, scratch my head, and still sign this paper.
All right, the deal coming here between, it appears, Sporting Kansas City and Houston.
He's sending them back to the table. That's not good.
Houston trying to move up 6 spots here in the 2nd round.
No, now Houston's getting the pick together to make their pick. I think it went down.
We had handshakes all around. All right, well, it's Sporting Kansas City. Peter Vermes and company seem very much at ease as they settle back into their draft table here at the Pennsylvania Convention Center. And we'll wait for everything to be processed and Todd Durbin to tell us what is happening as we continue. 2nd round of the MLS SuperDraft on MLSsoccer.com and SiriusXM FC94 for our people taking this in on Sirius XM. Don't forget a special edition of Counterattack coming your way live from the NSCAA convention here in Philadelphia. We'll get underway at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Normal time 5 to 7, but live on site here at the convention. We'll be live tomorrow as well from 4 until 6. Special time there, 4 until 6. And they're just everybody who is involved in this game on all kind of different levels is here in Philadelphia this weekend. So, John, we can run the gamut on who we'll be able to talk to in our editions of Counterattack today and tomorrow. But now it seems like they have the paperwork sorted out. And it has Sporting Kansas City kind of back to the drawing board on figuring out what they're going to do. As if this goes as we think, Sporting Kansas City is going to drop 6 spots. And interesting to watch that it is Matt Jordan taking care of all this, the general manager, who has just stepped in at Houston.
Oh, he's signing the paperwork. Is it done in time?
Not Owen Coyle, who you have to wonder if Owen Coyle...
There you go, they're just shaking hands.
That means it's done.
He just sold him his car that he had. Peter Verme said, look, I have 3 cars in my driveway. I'm selling you the car.
Right. You think it's
players
11?
moved on.
You know what? You have now clued us in on what those future considerations are.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Owen Coyle certainly
deed
sitting
and
there.
title.
Owen Coyle's going, what the heck's going on here? What you did? Just get the deal done. It's all done. All done. It's all done and dusted here. I think Verme signed the deal, so he's pretty happy. We'll see what the trade, though, what the implications is in terms of moving forward. Players they can get, Jonathan Yardley.
I think Houston's coming up to get Jenon Kotic.
Let's bring Simon Borg in because we got Simon here from MLS
Simon Borg.
Extra Time. Simon, welcome to the
What
show.
have I
How
missed?
are you?
I heard you guys talking about people selling cars out there.
We got all kinds of deals going on. Simon, how much money do you have in your pocket? And would you like what's behind curtain number 2? Would you take what's behind curtain number 2? Or what's in my wallet?
I'll take your wallet. Absolutely. Because I don't have a wallet.
I knew he was a smart guy.
I don't have a wallet. This is
What do you think so far? Any standouts for you? Some surprises that you see? Each year you've been part of this. You know what's on this circuit.
I mean, I'm surprised to see GA guys drop as low as they did. Usually teams pounce on those because they don't count against the roster. So that was a little surprise to me. Stoltz, the Stoltz move. We just heard backstage. I don't know if you've had Jesse Marsh yet. Jesse Marsh says Stoltz will be in this league. So Stoltz, a player who left to go to Germany, and to go to Germany where it's his home country.
Right.
And many thought, okay, he's ditching the league. He was one of the best players in college, but Jesse Marsh convinced. So to get a player like Stoltz, Jonathan, a player considered top 5 college players in the country, at the place they got him at number 18, and for them to have that info and to get him, to me, is a big move.
Which means they probably had it worked out ahead of time how much it was going to take to sign him.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because we haven't had any of the Red Bull folks come by yet. Did they give you any indication of why they are so confident he will play in this league?
It sounded to me like Jesse Marsh spoke to Leo Stoltz. So there's an understanding. You got to wonder now, the other 17 teams that picked ahead of the Red Bulls, were they not in the know as much as Jesse Marsh and the Red Bulls? So they're
or they weren't willing to pay as much.
Well, that's the thing too, is the payment too, because we were saying this earlier on. I saw Stoltz play throughout the year. Early on in September, he played against Wake Forest. Watched him, heard everything. People talking about he wasn't even going to stay here. Other people were saying to me, like, will he continue on with soccer? Smart guy, education, everything else, business.
All right, Todd Durbin coming to the podium. Let's find out what went down here.
We have a trade to announce involving Sporting Kansas City and the Houston Dynamo. Sporting Kansas City have traded the 9th pick in the 2nd round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft to the Houston Dynamo in return for future considerations. And with the 9th pick of the 2nd round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, the Houston Dynamo select from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, defender Umar Ballo.
Okay, and now Philadelphia on the clock. You'll hear some cheers from the Sons of Ben, but Omar Ballo from Mali by way of the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and this was a team, frankly, that frustrated some of us this season who went to the main campus of the University of Maryland at some point in their life, because it was UMBC who knocked them out of the NCAA tournament, and a big reason why was just the defense that the Retrievers were able to play, anchored by this guy. Omar Bala.
Yeah, I've been told Houston had him rated as one of the top center backs in the draft. So they saw a chance to move up and get him middle of the second round. They see that as a big plus. They've got some center back experience there. They just signed Raul Rodriguez, who we talked with earlier with Owen Coyle about. They've got A.J. Cochran, a GA guy who's still got time to develop. So getting Balo gives them a little bit more versatility back there, and maybe gives Cochran time to go play in USL Pro and get steady amount of games.
All right, Simon Borg, since you've been able to kind of be in the media mix down there when people come through, anything else that stands out from today?
Well, the one thing that occupied most of my time is the scrum that Commissioner Don Garber has with media, customarily between rounds at the Super Draft, and he answered a bunch of questions. Plenty of Frank Lampard questions, as you can imagine. But to me, the biggest news story is that he's going to be in the city of St. Louis, where he says there's a lot of activity around the projects that they have going on for a stadium for the football team, and there are apparently some ideas for a stadium. So those are projects that he's going to be in St. Louis for the next few days. We'll see now. St. Louis, not a city that was in the mix when we were talking expansion cities.
I'm glad. This is great that you brought this up, Simon, because last night on Counterattack we had a caller call in from St. Louis who brought up the same exact thing, the stadium itself, the opportunity of maybe filling that stadium with soccer, and then the capacity of that stadium. You know, originally for football, we know that. And so it was brought up last night. After that, our board started lighting up and people going crazy because we know what a soccer hotbed St. Louis is. So fantastic information.
Yeah, he didn't get into specifics, but the fact that a league commissioner is going and league officials are going to St. Louis, we haven't heard that kind of news in many, many years since I believe the gentleman's name was Cooper. He was trying to put together something in St. Louis, and it ultimately didn't go through.
All right, Simon, appreciate you stopping by, especially that St. Louis news. It's one of those franchises that since the start of the league, I shouldn't say franchise, cities, that you've always wondered how they didn't have a team with the history of soccer in St. Louis, and it went back, and we can get into the whole Lamar Hunt, and he wanted a team in Kansas City for his stadium, so we understand that. But let's go back to Todd
With
Durbin,
the 10th
Philadelphia
pick of
making
the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, the Philadelphia Union select from Davenport University, defender Jenan Katic.
I was off by one.
All right, and that, incidentally, is the first pick of the day for Philadelphia. They're having the draft here because of the convention. And did I hear? Was it Nikola Panic?
No, it's Katic.
Katic, okay,
is stepping
sorry.
up to the podium, too. He's here.
And he's a great story. This is a kid from an NAIA school. He scored 63 goals the last 2 years, but it's NAIA, so everybody says, what have you done for me? But he played for the Michigan Bucks last summer, PDL Player of the Year, better than a goal a game. He was a former National Player of the Year in high school, turned pro out of high school, which is why he wasn't eligible to come back and play in the NCAA, had to play NAIA, and he turned some heads at the Combine as well.
Okay. Good. All right, waiting for the comments here. Hello? Who's this? This is Joe. Who's this? Yes.
Just want to say thanks to the MLS and to the union.
What do you mean?
I want to thank Baswick Sports, Davenport University, the Michigan Bucks, and can't wait to get started. Go Union.
I just did a whole talk about counterattack being on today.
Went to school, Michigan Bucks, and you could see what it meant to him, that long journey.
Characteristic traits from this player?
Big but technical. Could be a little stronger in terms of the shoulders, but can play any of the front attacking spots, whether it's as a number 9 or playing wide. Obviously, Philadelphia, we've seen him use both main systems, but very interesting guy. Signed to a contract before the draft.
Right, and let's welcome in Adrian Heath right now, Orlando Soccer Club.
I just spent a whole time when we came
out
talking about how
the experience
waiting for this day.
Coming up later today on counterattack. We're here tomorrow.
In terms of what you have, the depth of knowledge, experience from the game in the past. Now, been with USL Pro for a long period of time. Championships, a squad, the way that you put it together, so professional, Adrian. Congratulations.
Okay, well, then
on all
that's something we got to take up with Seth Bacon. But
what are your expectations moving in, and how excited are you? Can you calm the nerves a bit here?
Yeah, it's been a bit surreal day. You know,
Yeah.
since the 7 years that we've been here, we've always been on the outside looking in. We've come to every draft. And now to be on the inside and have an integral part of what the day brought, it was really exciting. It was cool to get our supporters up here as well. And, you know, it's like, John, I can't wait now to get all the players and then get back on the training pitch, because I seem to have been travelling an awful lot, looking at the players,
11th
looking at
pick
videos.
of the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, the Portland Timbers select from Southern Illinois University and the Tom Fitzgerald Combine Most Valuable Player, forward Christian Valesky.
So Christian Valesky from SIU Edwardsville going to Portland with the 32nd pick. We're talking with Orlando City head coach Adrian Heath as Valesky makes it to the stage. And Adrian, quickly, how close did you come to moving that top pick? What were the offers coming fast and furious?
Well, we obviously, with Kyle being Canadian, we had plenty of interest from the 3 Canadian teams. But the one thing that we saw in Kyle is he has a bit of everything. He can play with his back to goal. He scores good goals. He's got a great goal record. He's a good kid as well. But more importantly, if we can bring him on in the next year or two to have a top, maybe the number 9 for Canada and a goal scorer, then obviously we think we've got a really good player.
Christian Valesky.
I just want to give a special thanks to the MLS and the Portland Timbers for giving me the selection. Thank you to my family, my friends, my parents are over there, my sister, Dave Williams, Wilmot Sport Agency. I'm looking forward to put my best into the effort and do what I can. Looking to the veterans and everybody for guidance, and I'm going to put my head down and go to work. Let's go, Portland.
You see the emotions here, Adrian. Obviously, been in this country for a long period of time, understand the landscape, the college, players coming through, the opportunities that present themselves. Talk a little bit about the impact of having a Kaká come to your group to be a leader on the field, off the field, professionalism at its highest.
Exactly. I was just saying to some of the kids, that transformation in their careers. 3-month seasons in college, and now all of a sudden some of them are going to be training with Kaká in 2 weeks. So it's quite surreal for some of them. They've seen the guy on the TV be the World Player of the Year, and now they're going to be training with him. So, we're going to have to give some of them a bit of time, I think. But the one thing that we've got a little bit of everything, John. We think we've got good experience in key positions, and we've got some really good young internationals now. So we think by the time we get everybody into training camp in a couple of weeks, that we're going to have a real rounded squad.
Biggest challenge for you stepping up in the MLS?
I think the biggest thing is for a lot of our players, it's all new for an awful lot of them. That we've had a few experienced players like Amobi and Kugu and the likes of Aurelian Collin and one or two others, but for the rest, this is going to be a new experience. The size of this country, the travel, the heat in certain parts, the cold in some certain areas. I think that's going to be the most important thing. But we're going in there full of confidence. We think we've got good players.
Adrian, everyone wants to talk lineup and how you're going to line up. Breck Shea on the left side, Luke Bowden on the left side, maybe some other additions. How do you see the left side lining up for opening day?
Well, we've obviously, if you look at it, we've got Luis Neal, who we've had before. He knows the system. We've got a young Colombian player we're expecting to sign in the next few days, so he can play down the left. So we've got maybe 4 or 5 natural left footers who we think can play in defence and attacking positions.
Shea better as a wing or a back?
Well, we'll see. Okay. We're gonna, it's no secret. We're gonna try him back there.
How's his throw-ins? Have you worked on his throw-ins?
Yeah, his long throw. Yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
There you go.
Adrian, congratulations on the selections. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you,
Adrian. Brilliant. Good luck to you, man. Thanks. Good to see you again.
Take care.
Adrian Heath from Orlando City joining us. The New England Revolution currently up with the 33rd pick, but you see Jay Heaps and the Seattle Sounders president of soccer, Garth Lagerwey, exchanging that handshake, John. Another car just go across country?
Another happy joining there. Making trades. Mike Burns, former U.S. international. Jay Heaps as well, sitting there making the talks. And we'll see what's pulled off here. Garth Lagerwey, very busy for Seattle. Making the rounds, huh?
No surprise, right?
He floats around the floor, if you notice. He just floats around the floor. He pops up everywhere, looking to make trades, I'm telling you. Seattle looking to wheel and deal here.
All right, a trade in the works here at the 2015 MLS SuperDraft. Joe Tollison, John Harkes, Jonathan Yardley with you. Glad you've joined us here on SiriusXM FC 94, MLSsoccer.com. Again, quick recap. Kyle Larin going to Orlando City, just speaking with Adrian Heath. Kerry Shelton going second overall to NYCFC. Montreal taking Romario Williams, Fatai Alashi to San Jose. Portland selecting Nick Beasler, Alex Bono, the goalkeeper, to Toronto FC. Chicago selecting Matt Polster. Zach Steinberger going to Houston. Toronto with another pick, Clement Simonin from North Carolina State. Connor Hallisey to Sporting Kansas City. Toronto then took Skylar Thomas, a Canadian prospect, so that helps them out roster-wise. And Saad Abdul Salam to Sporting Kansas City, 12th overall. Vancouver selecting Tim Parker out of St. John's. And then Alex Koiberg from Marquette, as he is selected. And I said Alex Axel to Colorado. FC Dallas selecting Otis Earl. That is Robbie Earl's son, of course, from NBC Sports Network. And then Christian Roldan, he was the big surprise, dropping all the way down to 16. Seattle trading up to get to that spot and select the University of Washington product. Miguel Aguilar out of San Francisco going to DC United. Another big surprise was Leo Stoltz out of UCLA, because many thought that he was not going to be signed by MLS and was going to play in Germany, but Red Bull's taking an opportunity. Simon Borg from MLS Extra Time Radio, which you can hear on Sirius XM-FC, telling us that Jesse Marsh, the new Red Bulls coach, saying they believe he will be playing in MLS. So they've obviously had some discussions. Columbus taking Sergio Campbell out of the University of Connecticut, and then the Clemson product, Amadou Dia, going to Sporting Kansas City in the first round, wrapping up with Ignacio Maganto out of Iona. So to Todd Durbin once again.
The New England Revolution and the Seattle Sounders. New England have traded the 12th pick in the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft to Seattle in return for future considerations. And with the 12th pick of the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, Seattle Sounders select from Northwestern University goalkeeper Tyler Miller.
The Portland Timbers are now on the clock.
Another Jersey boy going out there.
Yeah, Bishop Eustace High School from South Jersey, 4-year starter at Northwestern. Now Tyler Miller is another player who skipped the MLS Combine to go try out in Europe. So I don't know if Seattle has inside information that he is willing to come back to MLS in the right spot, or if they just feel they need a backup goalkeeper after Troy Perkins and Stephen Fry, who's the number 1. They need a number 3 guy, and I think Tyler Miller might be it. He could be the starter for S2, the Sounders team in USL Pro.
Well, again, that's another game where that factor comes in. Again, to remind everybody that all MLS teams this coming season are required to either own or have an affiliation agreement with the USL Pro team. And so they're going to have a second roster that they're going to pay attention to. And to me, this is just a positive going forward. And you can say that it doesn't really formally exist around the world in other leagues, but it sort of does, because there's definitely teams around. Ajax, of course, is renowned for the different teams they're affiliated with, predominantly their team in South Africa that they can tap into for talent. So there are teams out there that do that. So this, to me, is only a positive sign for the future of the league and developing talent that's playing a lot, which you need to do.
No, I agree. I think so too. And just going back to the pick, just a straight thing for Seattle. Again, Marcus Hanneman, retires, and they need somebody else in training. They need somebody push in that second place. With Troy Perkins is there, Stefan Fry as well. So Ziggy's all about the competition, and he's going to create that in the environment. So hey, why not? The goalkeepers are going to have to be in that situation as well, Jonathan.
Yeah, and I think the biggest plus is pure minutes, and especially for a goalkeeper. What's the hardest thing? You have a great goal. You feel you have a great backup goalkeeper. How does he get minutes? And the teams that have a USL Pro team right in town, like Seattle, like Portland, if the games don't line up and exactly overlap, he can train, he can be on the bench for the MLS team, and then he can start for the USL Pro team.
All right, and there is the trade.
13th pick of the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, the Portland Timbers select from Virginia Commonwealth University, forward Carlton Belmar.
All right, Carlton Belmar, forward out of VCU in Richmond, Virginia, as he goes to Portland. And that trade before was the New England trade, future considerations to move up into the second round, and that is where they selected Tyler Miller. But now Carlton Belmar going to the Portland Timbers. And that puts the Columbus Crew on the clock here in the second round. 2015 MLS SuperDraft. Glad you've joined us here at the Pennsylvania Convention Center in Philadelphia on SiriusXM FC and MLSsoccer.com. Let's take a look. We recapped the first round just before. Here's what we have here in the second round. Connor Donovan out of NC State going to Orlando. Connor Brandt from San Diego going to NYCFC. Portland selecting Andy Toma out of the University of Washington. Akil Barrett going to Orlando out of Tulsa. Interesting pick in Colorado, taking Joseph Greenspan, the 6'6" defender out of the Naval Academy, because he does have his military commitment to be concerned with. Out of North Carolina, Boyd Aquonu going to Real Salt Lake. Kingsley Bryce from St. Louis University going to the Chicago Fire. And after Kingsley Bryce, Wesley Sharpie going to Toronto FC, and then Omar Ballo to the Houston Dynamo, before Jenin Katic out of Davenport in the NAIA going to Sporting Kansas City, and then Christian Volsky to the Portland Timbers. Molesky, excuse me.
We're seeing all sorts of schools popping up, right? I mean, it kind of speaks to college soccer really is spread out. The talent, not every school can offer full scholarships, so guys are staying in state, and the talent is really widely dispersed. So it speaks to how difficult it is to scout. Kind of, you have to cover every school if we can find talent in all of these places, but it speaks to MLS teams are finding a lot of it.
All right, on the clock right now, the Columbus Crew. After Christian Volesky going to Portland, it was Tyler Miller, of course, to Seattle. And then Carlton Belmar to Portland. And now here is the pick from the Columbus Crew.
With the 14th pick of the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, Columbus Crew select from Cal State Northridge, forward Sagi Lavari.
Sagi Lev-Ari, Israeli. It's military. He already did his military service. This is the oldest player in the draft. And he's a poacher. He compared himself to Chris Wondolowski. He says, I score goals. I get in the box. I find chances, and I take advantage. And Columbus going to take a shot on him.
Yeah, Columbus, so Jonathan, when you look at the depth chart for them, I mean, Kai Kamara coming into the fold for them, big pickup, Schoenfeld. You look at Bedell as well. Where does he fit? I mean, is this a guy that they think can really make an impact? I mean, at this point in time, or
I'm going to be honest, I'm skeptical.
Okay.
He doesn't strike me as powerful enough to be a hold-up player in MLS, and Columbus plays with a number 9. I'm not sure if he can run a wing, so I'd be curious to see where they plan on using him. But it's a guy, he's going to turn 26 in July, and he takes up an international slot, so it seems like a bit of a flyer.
All right, as we move on, it is the Houston Dynamo that are on the clock now. And Houston, with a pick that they acquired from Dallas as part of the Javon Watson trade back in 2013. And so with Houston on the clock, we'll see what the Brain Trust there wants to do. They were involved in a trade just earlier.
There's some good names still out there. There's a lot in the center of midfield, though, and they already got Steinberger. Because you're looking at Dan Metzger, Aaron Simmons.
I like Dan Metzger.
Right. Eric Bird, Seth Kasipli. All these guys are center mids still available. One name that was just brought to my attention that could be a fit here is Rob Lovejoy. He's a left-sided player. Houston would like some attacking depth behind Brad Davis on that left wing. They also brought in Lionel Miranda. So I should probably stop trying to guess picks because I don't have the greatest track record. I had that one that I got. But those are just some of the names that I'm looking at. I'm a little surprised haven't gone yet. Aaron Simmons is a versatile guy. John, you and I were talking about Seth Kasipli, and he's got a versatile game in the midfield as well.
Yeah, he does. He's a very good player. And I think, one of the points we made early on in this draft, and we were talking about the depth now across at college, I don't think there's a big risk with these players.
With the 15th pick of the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, the Houston Dynamo select from the University of North Carolina, midfielder Rob Lovejoy.
So I will give
to your attention.
I will give full credit to our producer Jason Sagini, who whispered Rob Lovejoy's name in my ear.
He whispered. He yelled it at you. Get Jason up here, will you? Good player, very creative, instinctual as well. And I think that he has a position there, Joe, listed as forward. But Lovejoy can play on the wings for Carlson Wana. I've seen him out wide. He likes to cut across the grain at times. one of those players that when he's holding the ball and gets the confidence, he's going to be able to say, hey, here's a little back heel. Here's a little trick out of my locker. There it is right there.
Wow, on
that
cue.
Was not at the combine.
John had not seen that video.
No, swear to you I did not. But I've seen him play for UNC. And Carlos, head coach Samwana, has been able to give him the freedom to use that creativity in the game. So you wonder if that's going to adapt and do well here with Houston Dynamo. So who's next? Jason Zaghini telling us, Joe.
The Toronto FC is on the clock.
Haven't I heard this before? 47th pick today for Toronto FC.
As we found out, they have made it a mission to increase the number of drafted players on their roster, and they want to do it all in this one draft.
Look at that group right there. Vanny, you got Robin Frazier, just moved on from the New York Red Bulls as well, where he was at Real Salt Lake. Dan Kalishman, another player I got to play with at the New England Revolution. On the table,
right.
Making decisions there to the right. So all three guys knowing the landscape extremely well, depth of knowledge without a doubt, and all good leaders, And, what's interesting? All defenders. All defenders right there.
They're milking this on camera time. They're loving it.
Yeah, they are. I'm wondering if they don't see us. Can they give us a wave here? Come on, boys. You're on the camera. Come on, give us a wave there, Robin. Come on, Dan Kalishman.
At this point, Toronto's acquired so many guys, it's not even worth looking at their needs chart because they may have covered half of those. Again, they got Bono, Simonin, and Thomas, who are both defenders. Bono's a goalkeeper in the first round, and Wes Sharpie, a right back. So we said Toronto needed to fix its defense, 15th in MLS in defense last year. Just about every pick in this draft has been on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, you just at this point, too, you wonder about some of those conversations that are taking place. Maybe George Kelnavach, UVA, Eric Bird, we saw limited time with him with the injury, but a very creative player. He can finish off chances, good attacking midfielder as well. We'll see what they...
16th pick of the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, Toronto FC select from Cal State Northridge, forward Edwin Rivas.
The Vancouver Whitecaps FC are now on the clock.
So they shifted gears here, Joe. Shifted gears a little bit, huh, Jonathan? He went away from the defensive shape and going with the attacking side of things now. So Toronto in there.
So Edwin Rivas, the selection.
That's another one who wasn't at the combine. So certainly maybe that Southern California that Kalishman brings. Was able to spot Rivas from the LA area, and we'll see how he fares in the cold climes of Ontario in winter.
And for Rivas, coming in as a forward, but it was a guy who a year ago, 21 appearances, 4 goals and 4 assists, so wasn't getting a lot of time. But Toronto, well, they've gone off the board more than once here today. So we'll see what it is they see. We're joined now by Nick Sakevich from the Philadelphia Union here in the host city.
And watch out you don't roll away.
To wait a little bit before they got to make a pick. But what does it mean, in a sense, for your franchise, in part because the convention's here to have the draft here?
It's phenomenal. It's 2 years in a row. It gives us a great opportunity for our fans to see a tremendous event. And just allows us to get people woken up from the winter sleep. That soccer season's 7 weeks away.
You don't need to wake up Sons of Ben.
No.
They were booing, I think, Don Garber in the beginning. They just want to make it interesting.
They were here at 7 in the morning getting all ready to
sleeping
poop.
Online, weren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sleeping online. Nick, talk a little bit about Kadich, your choice.
Yeah, so, our guys thought he did really well in the combine, kind of a sleeper of a player out of Davenport, Iowa. And, we're just trying to build some depth into our attack. We've got CJ. We traded our first-round pick with Kansas City to get CJ Sapong back in here. So I think it's going to be interesting. He's big, tall, strong, good finisher, and he has a nose for the goal, which, as you know, is really special. So we'll see how he develops, and hopefully he'll make the first team.
Off-season moves, of course, come all shapes and sizes. Where are you in terms of building the roster for 2015? Are there more international things to look at, or are you feeling pretty good about what you have?
No, I think we've got another 2 moves, 1 or 2 moves in us. We feel pretty good about our team. We took Seattle to a goalpost of the U.S. Open Cup last year and almost nicked our first trophy, which was the most important one. So really happy with our team. We just need some more veteran pieces in there. So I think you'll see we're going to be pretty active the rest of the month in the transfer window.
Nick, a lot of stuff too off season, right? You guys building with the club at this point in time? You guys doing a lot of stuff in terms of building your facilities, things like that. You and I spoke about that as well.
Yeah. So we built our training fields, and we're just getting ready to build a proper training facility. So we're 5 years old. So we built a stadium, we built an academy, we launched a school. And now we're putting the finishing touches on infrastructure. So a lot of work to do.
Great deal of growth, though. And talk about the youth academy. I was able to tour that with you. We'll get it. Let's get to the youth academy right after Todd comes up here real quick.
With the 17th pick of the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, Vancouver Whitecaps FC select from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, forward Kay Banjo.
The New York Red Bulls are now on the clock.
Well, one of the best names in the draft, and another guy who broke Joe Tollison's heart a little bit with that UMBC run.
I will tell you that DC United's head coach Ben Olsen has a son named Frankie Banjo, so he's going to have some competition there.
That's the middle. That's the middle name.
Frankie Banjo. I'm telling you. So
Kay Banjo, UMBC, is the latest pick going to the Vancouver Whitecaps. New York Red Bulls on the clock. And let's go back. You were asking Nick about Youth
Nick,
Academy.
so talk to us a little bit about what you guys have been able to do there and really create. This is not just a youth academy. This is in-house. This is part of the group and the squad itself.
Yeah, so, it's all about culture and creating an environment for young kids to develop in. And we've been about 4 years into it. Academy was launched 2 years ago, along with the high school for elite soccer players. We've got 65 boys in our academy that are in our own high school. And it's great. It's because you have them all day long. You have them in your environment from 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night. They're training in your own facility. And you've been there, John. And it's starting to become a real special place. We've invested heavily in sports performance psychology and nutrition and coaching. And we hope it pays off. We're making a big bet on youth development.
And with the homegrown rules and the way they work here in the league, you can have kind of what Toronto had here, and a guy like Chapman, in essence, find yourself a first-round pick that you don't have to pick.
There's no doubt. Our dream is to field starting players at PPL Park someday that come from this region, and it's really why we got into this league in the first place, John, why you came back and why I got in for the American player, for the development of the American player, and we're investing in that, and all the teams in MLS are investing, and I think you're just going to see the continuation of improved players at the top level.
And you've done that as well. We see Maurice Edu, signed on board. Another sign of you believing in the U.S. player.
Yeah, no, we're excited. We signed Maurice to a nice long-term contract, and he's going to be a centerpiece for our team for many years to come, hopefully.
Okay, Nick Sakavich, CEO of the Philadelphia Union. Thanks for a few moments.
Thanks Joe.
Thanks, Nick.
John. Thanks a lot.
And New York Red Bulls on the clock, waiting for their pick here in the second round. And again, Kay Banjo, just before that, going to the Maryland, from Maryland, Baltimore County, going to the Vancouver Whitecaps.
Yeah.
And Dan Metzger's still out there.
Yeah, Dan's there, but I'll be honest with you. I'm not surprised that Banjo went. I thought he would have gone a little bit earlier because, we talk about so far, it seems to be an emphasis this year on the big player being, in the back line, but also the big striker, the big target guy, and to me, he offers a lot. I really think so. And regardless of where you go in the draft, there's always an opportunity at a club that if they give you the chance to be successful, some of these players are going to really stand through.
We talked about Vancouver valuing speed out wide. You'd have to imagine that's a possibility for Banjo. This is a guy who is also dealing with a long journey to get here. His school, Towson, cut soccer during his time there, and he finished his degree there, transferred to UMBC, sitting out a season in between to finish his degree. So this is a guy just happy to still be playing soccer and find some new teammates now up in Vancouver.
And what a great run, and what an education for them, too, in the UMBC this year. It was fantastic to watch. Great stuff.
All right, New York Red Bulls on the clock, and here comes Todd Durbin to make the pick. You're listening to the 2015 draft, Sirius XM-FC and MLSsoccer.com.
With the 18th pick of the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, New York Red Bulls select from the University of California, forward Stefano Bonomo.
The Seattle Sounders FC by now.
Stefano Bonomo from the University of California, as he is selected by New York Red Bulls, and they will add a forward to the stable, so to speak.
Yeah, big guy, 6'2", 170. He really likes to play with his back to goal. And so that's something, we wanted to know how Jesse Marsh was going to play. He wants to hold up forward, it looks like, because that's Bonomo's game. He didn't have his finishing boots on at the combine. He created chance after chance after chance and just wasn't sharp in finishing them, which on MLSsoccer.com you'll see a little bit of. But in terms of creating those chances, that is surely what stuck out to the coaches.
Yeah, talked to Kevin Grimes, quite a bit. I love to be in touch with all the college coaches. I love the landscape. And, we're always constantly, I think it's because of the former players at the national team, we're going, what is this guy like to you? Who would you be similar to? He said he's like a Nate Jaqua, who played in the league. So a big guy, a gangly guy, but that can hold people off. And like you said, maybe not maybe needs to tweak his game in terms of that fine finishing in and around the 18. Most of the goals are scored at the 8-yard mark, the 10-yard mark, and the 12-yard mark. Very rarely do you see that long-distance strike. So a guy like that has to really sharpen up his fine finishing in that close area. Maybe that's one of the things that he's got to be challenged.
All right, you've been involved in coaching. Jonathan says at the combine he generates chance after chance, but didn't finish them. But as a coach, you say, well, eventually some of those are going to go in.
That's a great point, Joe. I mean, these are the things that you're looking at. Is if he's not getting there positionally, is he a player that should be there? Well, he's drifting somewhere. He's off his mark. But if he is there and they're creating opportunities, that's what you say to your team when you come back in, even at halftime or at the end of the game. We were making the opportunities, guys. Great progress today. Keep it positive. So at least he's one of the guys that were in the right spot.
All right, now on the clock it is the Seattle Sounders. We have 3 picks left here in this second round to wrap up this day. There are 2 more rounds of the MLS SuperDraft. There's no longer a supplemental draft. It's all put together in this one SuperDraft. The first 2 rounds here today in Philadelphia, and then on Tuesday, the 3rd and 4th rounds will take place via a conference call among all the teams in the league, and that's how they will fill out the roster for the 3rd and 4th rounds. So 3 more picks here: Seattle Sounders, Philadelphia Union, and DC United. And for the Seattle pick, let's go back to Todd Durbin.
With the 19th pick of the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, the Seattle Sounders select from the University of New Mexico midfielder O'Neal Fisher.
O'Neal Fisher out of the University of New Mexico. He is a Jamaican-born player in New Mexico and now goes up to Seattle.
And he's more of a right back to me. He played midfielder in college, but he played right back at the combine. He played right back for the Red Bulls under-23s last year. I like him. If you can spare an international slot, and Seattle's decided they can, good cover there. Tyrone Mears is the replacement for DeAndre Yedlin, and you see Fisher coming behind him.
All right, joined now by Carl Robinson of the Vancouver Whitecaps as he joins us here at our draft table at the Pennsylvania Convention Center on Sirius XM FC and MLSsoccer.com. And Carl, well, another go-through here on the draft of you guys in the playoffs to the last 3 years and what you're looking to do to build from the players you got here today.
Well, we're just trying to add to our important crop of young players that we've got, and I think the 2 picks that we've had, we've managed to do that. We've obviously lost a little bit of experience in the centre-half positions, so adding Tim was crucial for me. I thought he was the best player in the combine and showed all the fundamentals a young centre-half should have to try and be successful in this league. So he was an important pick. And Kay has got potential. He's raw, but he's got something there. I met him. The character reference that based on the interview was fantastic, and I want to give kids who are eager for a chance an opportunity, and he fits into that mold.
Carr, how much is, you look at the game and where it's come from, when you played and now you see this, and you just talked about something there. When you see raw players, how much of a risk is it, though, when a coach says, is it an ego thing, I could change this player, or I see something there, or is it more or less on the potential based on what you have and your needs for your club that fill that?
It is a risk. When any player you take is a risk, whether they're a Steven Gerrard or a Kay Banjo. But, young players need chances and opportunities, and my job is to coach and develop them. And, I'm putting my neck on the line, really, of identifying raw talent and trying to make them better. Because the day they leave the club, from when they come into the club, they should be a better person and a better player. And if they're not, then I haven't done my job correctly.
Well, you've been doing your job very well.
Thank you.
Doing a great
Carl
job.
Robinson, head coach of the Vancouver Whitecaps. Thanks for stopping by. Congratulations on the picks today.
Thanks, Jess.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Again, Vancouver with Tim Parker out of St. John's, and then Kay Banjo out of Maryland, Baltimore County. And 2 picks left, and one of them for the hometown Philadelphia Union. And here comes Todd Durbin.
With the 20th pick of the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, Philadelphia Union select from the University of Virginia, midfielder Eric Bird.
Eric Bird, University of Virginia. I will default to the Cavalier in presence.
Yeah, good player. Picked up a few injuries at probably the worst time, towards the end of the season. But Eric is a great guy who likes to peel off that front line and kind of find space, turn and run at people when he needs to. Great understanding of the game, I think. Really, really good, smart player.
What's his MLS position? Philadelphia likes to play that 4-2-3-1. Where can he fit there?
It's interesting. That's going to be a challenge. That's a good question, Jonathan, because he's not an out-and-out wide player in the 3, across that. And I also don't know if he can play that single one player, holding up. They may, and if he shows well and does well enough, they might have to adapt, their positioning, just to maybe get him on the field. But I think a guy that really strong in his squad, can strike a ball lefty as well as right-footed, good finishing technique, sniffs the game out well, seems to be in the right place at the right time. So good for him. Congratulations, defending champions there. Certainly, we won't go into that in terms of style of play, because I know Jonathan will argue with me on everything.
No.
But a good player, good pickup here, and Philadelphia Union just adding another, in terms of the stock right across the board, a guy that's versatile.
Right.
So one more pick left here in the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, and we're glad you've joined us here on SiriusXM FC94 and MLSsoccer.com. Again, a reminder for all our listeners on FC94, a counterattack coming your way here from the NSCAA convention, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And then again tomorrow from 4 until 6 p.m., again live here at the convention. And don't forget, all season long, not only Major League Soccer games, but the English Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, the UEFA Champions League. You can hear it all on SiriusXM FC94, as well as engaging talk from guys like John Harkes and Tony Miola.
I was just trying to give him a little bit more coffee, to make sure he's okay. Keep him.
We're all good.
Final pick coming up.
All right, DC United has the final pick here in the draft, and they are pretty close to making that pick. And Todd Durbin will come up, and it's a DC United team, again, as we mentioned, had that fantastic turnaround.
Would you see Metzger going here? DeFilo, Mr. Kemp, the other Maryland player.
DC.
Conversation with Sasha, you never know. Could be.
It should have been easy enough for him to scout.
Yes, I would think so. Well, no, certainly. I've seen him play. Good player, man. Dan Metzger. Very good player. Not sure who they'll pick at this point in time. Looking to add in, any quality players they can get. Todd Durbin stepping up to the podium. We'll hear him right now.
With the 21st and final pick of the second round of the 2015 MLS SuperDraft, DC United select from the University of Maryland, midfielder Dan Metzger.
Well, where did that come from?
Who could have predicted it?
So it is indeed Dan Metzger out of the University of Maryland. He is here in attendance. So at least the trip to Philadelphia is not all for naught for Dan Metzger, as he will get a chance to come on stage.
He brought quite a crowd, apparently.
Good player, Dan Metzger. Neat and tidy on the ball. Likes to find the game. Positional sense, awareness. Good in terms of defensively, too. Transition game. So, likes to see the game moving forward. So, good pickup for DC United.
This is a guy who played 1 year in the New York Red Bulls Academy. He's from Holmdel, New Jersey, South Jersey. And interesting to see him here. He wasn't with them long enough to really qualify as a homegrown player, but funny to see him go right down I-95 to DC.
Yeah, is that going to create a little bad blood?
I guess
we'll hear right now.
Best for last, huh? No, I'm just kidding. I want to thank DC United for believing in me and giving me this opportunity. Hopefully I can have an impact with the team right away. I want to thank the coaches who have helped me along the way. First and foremost, Coach Jay and Coach John. Without you guys, I wouldn't be playing soccer today. I want to thank my college coaches, Sasha Shravsky, Brian Rowland, Michael Della Russo, and Scott Butte. You guys really helped me bring my game to the next level. So thank you. I want to thank my friends for coming out and supporting me, my girlfriend, and of course my family, my mom and dad, my brother who wasn't able to be here today, but my other brother wound up making it. And thanks, guys. I love you.
All right, Dan
with
Metzger
that,
from
we
the
conclude
University of
today's
Maryland, and you look at some of the players that have come out of that program, making an impact in Major League Soccer. You can start right at the top of the list with Patrick Mullins, and so there is a history there. And Metzger, as you heard right there, it doesn't matter to him that he was the last pick in the second round. He hopes to catch on with the team right away.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Metzger, and you look at Sasha Sadowski, does such a great job preparing, players. We talked about Jay Vidovich. We talked about Bobby Clark. There's so many great college coaches out there that prepare players for the next level. The environment that's at University of Maryland, the fan base that's there, he knows what DC United fans and the expectations of the club are. He's seen Ben Olsen change this from last year to this year, how well they've done. He's going to want to make an impact right away.
Yeah, and it's a midfield that obviously he's not going to step into the starting lineup. That's not the expectation. But you have Kitchen, you have Arno. They just brought in Marcus Halsti from Finland. Some good guys to learn from. And we've seen DC, I know I've said it all day, we've seen DC take advantage of the USL Pro relationship with the Richmond Kickers. A lot of guys have gone on loan there, gotten minutes. Andrew Dykstra, Joe Willis, the goalkeepers among them. Michael Seaton, another one. So you could see Metzger being another one of those guys who shuttles if he can catch on with DC.
Yeah, and I think what you take away here from today with that USL Pro, and I think Carl Robinson said it best with a guy like Kay Banjo, he's raw, we know that, but now you have that avenue to develop that raw player. You can afford to take a chance on some of these guys that maybe in drafts and seasons past you didn't take that chance because you weren't sure where you were going to put that player to make sure that not only you could develop them, but that you keep them.
Well, I think it's an excellent point, Joe, that you make. It's because now they have a little bit more patience as well to watch this player develop within the system. And that's what's key. We always talk about the reserve system, how important it is to have structure in this country. That went away. USL Pro comes in, relationship building. They have a platform now that they can look at the players and say, I'm watching them grow, bring them back into the first team, let them train again, get them games here with the USL Pro, with the LA2 and all these type of Richmond Kickers, whatever it may be, and then give them time to develop.
And the player can be more patient too because he's not just training every day and then watching from the stands. He's getting reps, he's getting game reps in games that matter and getting competition. It'll keep both sides happier.
Right.
All right, both rounds of this 2015 MLS SuperDraft here in Philadelphia have come to an end. Again, rounds 3 and 4 will be Tuesday via conference call. But when we come back, we'll recap what took place here in the first 2 rounds here from the Philadelphia Convention Center on Sirius XM FC 94 and MLSsoccer.com.
Shot is in! A beauty from Railhammer! A winning goal at the very last. It's quickly taken from Mira. Seattle have to switch back. Oh, it's in! It's Justin Mira! And it's a dagger through the heart of Seattle Sounders. It has to be the last kick of the game. Larry, Adi, chest down, back to goal, over the top, Will Johnson! That is one of the most amazing goals you are ever going to see! Wow! Looks it right now. Decision there by Finley. Blockhead ahead. Left-footed ball bending. Trying to find Torres, who finds the back of the net.
Keane the ball, running at Schuler. Keane cuts back, Robbie Keane! A la Marquez y Shaki centro! There's one man you do not leave alone is Robbie Keane.
Keane wide open. Gets away from his defender Hurtado. Chip in the keeper, Kennedy. He scores! What a goal by Robbie Keane! He's got Rogers if he wants him. To his left. Gets away from one defender. Gets the cross in. Alan Gordon scores!
He's flipping it in to the box, still on the chest. Back for Zardes. Dumps it in. Bring it on Schuster to the byline. The cross for Robbie Keane. 2-1 Galaxy. Could he make matters worse? He's around the keeper. Robbie Keane dancing and finishing. The rout is complete.
Looking good on his right foot. Sends it through. Robbie Keane. Fires. Goal!
And there's the celebration.
Oh, it's a chip and it's a beauty. Robbie Keane continues to captivate.
This one down. The one-time cross. Back for Robbie. Second chance. Score!
Do you think Robbie Keane just said, you know what? Any questions about me being the MVP of this league?
Welcome back to the Pennsylvania Convention Center in Philadelphia. This is the MLS SuperDraft on Sirius XM FC 94 and MLSsoccer.com. Along with Jonathan Yardley and John Harkes, I'm Joe Tollison, and they have wrapped it up. It took some time, but all 20 teams have made a total of 42 picks. We had an extra pick in both the first and second round because of Chivas USA and some early dealings they had made. The fact that teams had traded to acquire picks, those trades were honored, and that's why there were 21 picks in each of the first two rounds. And we started off 3.5 hours ago almost, and it was Kyle Larin, the first selection of this 2015 Super Draft, going to one of the newest clubs in the league, Orlando City, and they get the high-scoring forward out of the University of Connecticut.
This is the guy everybody said would go number one. Already 3 caps with the national team for Canada. People wanted to trade up for this spot, and eventually Orlando City decided, nope, we're an expansion team. We're going to keep it, make a big splash.
Another guy that can put the ball in the back of net. Adrian Heath said it very simply. Everybody wants a player that can score goals, so well done for them.
NYCFC going with Kyrie Shelton. Montreal selecting Romario Williams out of Central Florida. Fatai Alashi from Michigan State going to the San Jose Earthquakes. Portland Timbers selecting Nick Beasler. That was a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, a little bit, but also, too, both guys knowledgeable, Caleb Porter, you got Jay Vidovich now on their staff as well. We're going to take care of the T2, and they like Nick. He's played against him, competed against him, so, discussing that. I thought Beasler would have went to Sporting Kansas City and hung out with his brother, but maybe not.
That was the heartstrings storyline. Yeah. But no, and I think those injuries that we talked about with Will Johnson, not sure exactly the timing of his return, helps to have some cover there.
First goalkeeper was Alex Bono going to Toronto FC. That was the first of 3 picks they had between 6 and 11. Chicago selecting the very emotional Matt Polster. He is excited to be in Major League Soccer, said he has realized a childhood dream. And then, John, you like Houston Dynamo picking up Zach Steinberger.
Yeah, he's a very versatile player, Joe, but, aggressive, great, pretty good work rate as well. I think this is the type of guy that you look at that's going to chase up and put pressure on players in different various positions. So technique, very good.
And Clement Simonet out of North Carolina State, the number 9th overall pick by Toronto. That really the big surprise that we had here today. A lot of people didn't even have him in the first 2 rounds, much less in the top 10. Cal's midfielder Connor Hallesley going to Sporting Kansas City, and then Toronto FC with the last of those 3 picks between 6 and 11, taking Skylar Thomas out of Syracuse. Important to note there that he is a Canadian for them picking Akron's Saad Abdul Salam going to Sporting Kansas City. And then we heard from Carl Robinson talking about they wanted to get some help in the middle of defense, and they think they have gotten that with Tim Parker out of St. John's. And then Colorado trading up as they get Axel Sjöborg from Sweden out of Marquette, 6'7", the defender, and a player that'll be exciting there. Otis Earl, Robbie Earl's son, out of UC Riverside, going to FC Dallas. And then Christian Roldan, the Seattle Sounders, trading up as well to get a guy that many thought was top 3 or 4 who dropped all the way down to 16.
Yeah, he was consensus number 2. We thought he would go to New York City and play with Jason Christ, and it would be perfect. it's a different kind of perfect for him. He gets to stay in Seattle where he's been going to school at UW. His brother plays at Seattle University. So I think even though Roldan dropped, it's a good setup. There's not going to be high expectations on him right away, and he can learn and take his time in Seattle.
Friends of ours who's on the show, Counterattack, Christopher Sullivan, covers a lot of this in the game, college game, talked a lot about Christian Roldan. Really, really spoke highly of him. And, at the other end of the spectrum, too, he was surprised that he didn't go higher. And then Kiri Shelton, he thought he was a good player.
All right, Miguel Aguilar out of San Francisco going 17. Leo Stoltz, who everybody thought was going to go to Germany, New York Red Bulls, and Jesse Marsch, their new coach, saying they've spoken with him and they believe he will be in Major League Soccer, and they took the chance on taking the midfielder out of UCLA. Connecticut Sergio Campbell going to Columbus, 19th overall, and Amadou Dia from Clemson going to Sporting Kansas City. The first round wrapped up with Ignacio Maganto from Iona in suburban New York going to the LA Galaxy. Let's run through the second round for you. Orlando City taking Connor Donovan out of NC State. Connor Brandt going to NYCFC. Andy Toma of the Portland Timbers to the Portland Timbers out of the University of Washington. Akil Barrett going to Orlando City. Joseph Greenspan from the Naval Academy selected by Colorado. Boyd Okuonyu from North Carolina going to Real Salt Lake. Chicago takes Kingsley Bryce out of St. Louis. The 8th pick in the second round. Wesley Sharpie out of South Florida going to Toronto FC. Omar Ballo, the defender out of Maryland, Baltimore County, to the Houston Dynamo. Jenan Katic out of Davenport in the NAIA as he goes to the Philadelphia Union. Christian Valesky out of Southern Illinois to the Portland Timbers. And Seattle taking Tyler Miller, the keeper, out of Northwestern. Portland going Carlton Belmar from VCU. Sagilev Ari from Cal State Northridge going to the Columbus Crew. And we wrap up the second round. Houston taking Rob Lovejoy out of North Carolina. Edwin Rivas to Toronto. Kay Banjo, the forward out of Maryland, Baltimore County, to Vancouver. New York Red Bulls take Stefano Bonomo from California. O'Neill Fisher from New Mexico going to Seattle. Eric Bird to the Philadelphia Union out of Virginia. And the final pick, Dan Metzger out of the University of Maryland going to DC United. Well, that wraps it up for Jonathan Yardley and John Harkes. I'm Joe Tollison. Hope you enjoyed the coverage here on Sirius XM FC 94 and MLSsoccer.com. We say goodbye, all the best from the MLS SuperDraft in Philadelphia.